Welcome to the Horror Hangout, a podcast where film fans watch the best and worst horror movies of all time and talk about them. My name is Ben Errington, and today I'm joined by regular co-host Mr.
Andy Conduit Turner. Hello, Ben. How are you?
Hello there, Andy Conduit Turner. Across the airwaves, not in real life, not a fleshy man, a man on a screen. How are you doing?
Yeah, I am good, thank you. It's a bit of an adjustment, isn't it, after all that time out in the real world in London, isn't it? How have you
Yeah.
recovered for the last week?
Well, we're back home. We're in the comfort of our homes. I'm in a lovely chair. Um, I've recovered pretty well. I think I had a few days after where I was feeling pretty tired, and averaging every night in bed at like 4-ish and up at 9-ish. It's not the kind of lifestyle I'm used to, I'm used to when I'm tired, I'm ready for bed, good night. And when I'm getting up, not usually that well, actually that's probably around about the usual time. I work from home, so rolling out of bed at five to
Five to nine.
nine. Um but yeah, I feel all right. I think it was worth it, wasn't it? When you're just like, it's probably worth the amount of energy I put into it. I think
Yeah, I reckon so. Had a lovely time.
the rewards were plentiful. I feel it's good to see lots of great films, catch up with lots of great folk, meet some people for the first time, make new friends. Uh, yeah, it was good.
Yeah, it was really really, really good. I would do it more often if it wasn't quite so far away. But tell you
Yep.
what, the episode is up if you haven't already listened to it and you're in the market for a 4 hour bonanza of interviews,
Yes.
reviews, previews, little bits of lovely chat as we walk through London as well. We tried to do really extensive coverage. So far, I do say so myself, Ben. My heart is swelling with lots of lovely feedback we've had. So people seem to be enjoying it.
Yeah, we've had good feedback. I think initially I was thinking, is a 4-hour bumper episode a bit too much? But I feel like if we would have edited too much, as I often think with this show, we would have cut out all the gold. And, I think in terms of in terms of how many films we actually managed to cover, both films that we saw at the event, but also before as well, we managed to squeeze in a lot of our reviews at the time. I think I don't want to just say this out there, Andy, but it's got to be one of the definitive uh festival coverage podcasts out there currently because I was hugely surprised of how much we managed to cover in the end.
Yeah, me too. And we didn't handcuff ourselves to the press wall either. We had different settings all over the place.
Well, you say handcuff yourself to the press wall. I mean, I we barely graced it. I think it's not for us, is it? I think doing things by the book. We were much more. We were by the seat of our pants. Guerrilla
I've said it
filmmaking,
before
right?
though, it's because obviously we're there to watch movies as well. We're not, we are very lucky that people do send us screeners that maximize the amount we can see, but there's no way we could see 100% beforehand. So we do kind of go there, like we pay for our tickets. So we go there with the idea of, okay, we've got to go and see a certain number of films that we really want to catch as well. And even then, you don't get to see everything. So you've
No.
really got to grab those interviews when you get the chance to. But if I do say so myself, I think we did all right.
Yeah, and I don't think you put too much pressure on yourself. Watching a movie, doing an interview, and then going, "Oh God, we got to go into the next movie now." You kind of free yourself up a little bit to be able to. You've caught loads of movies, but you're also managed to chat to loads of people. I think in terms of the list of filmmakers that I wanted to speak to, I think we ticked off a lot of those in terms of who was there at least, and yeah, I think we got some real special stuff. I feel like our coverage of the Razorblade Smile 4K restoration, that's something I'm definitely going to be extremely proud of going forwards. The interviews we got for that, and obviously we managed to worm our way onto the Blu-ray, talking about the film after we watched it as well. But yeah, Andy, you wrangling three people for an interview was extremely impressive. It was
Yeah.
extremely impressive. I was thinking like, yeah, I don't know how I would have kept a lid on it. It was enough. Sometimes it was difficult enough with two, let alone three.
Yeah.
Out the front of the cinema as well, not in a quiet room. Out the front of the cinema, people milling about.
Like war correspondence yet again.
Exactly, just like war correspondence. And also real boring stuff to discuss. Don't think we had any technology shitouts. I think
No.
everything worked well. I think last time we had a couple of moments where like, I don't think we recorded that, or the microphone didn't work for
Oh, there
that.
was one that we didn't have the mic on, wasn't it? And that was, I
Yeah,
think, when we met Errol and Emily just before we went
yeah,
into Werewolf Santa last year, where we've got the footage, but you can barely hear any of it because the
yeah.
mic had switched itself off.
But this time around, we managed to avoid all of those. So I feel like we've got it down. It's a fine art, and I think we've got it down now. So next time we attend FrightFest or any other sort of like live and in-person event, I'd like our coverage to be the same. And it is a rush, isn't it? The rush is watching the film, seeing the people who are involved with the film sort of do their Q&A, and knowing that they're going to be out in the lobby and just going, we're just going to approach them. We're just going to approach them and say, and 99% of people are like, yeah, absolutely. Let's
Yeah.
chat. Not many people are like, you know what? Leave me alone. I've had
No,
enough.
I'm going back to my house now to sit and not promote the film I've just made.
Exactly.
No, exactly. Everyone's really up for it. Everyone isn't like it isn't just because they have a film to sell. It's because people are genuinely nice and I think they like to talk about the work that they're proud of.
Yeah. So at the end of last week's episode, you may have heard, if you listened to the whole thing, you may have heard us discuss the Fright Fest 2024 awards, something that we would usually do at the end of that episode and kind of like just throw in there our favorite film, our favorite performance, favorite director, yada, yada, yada. We decided to save it for this week's episode. A nice little add on sale, you could say, couldn't you, Andy?
You could indeed.
You could. And we're going to talk about our picks for Fright Fest 2024 awards. And right at the end of that episode, when Emma Cownley jumped on the show with us, you would have heard her say that she is going to provide us with her awards. Now, she's not here in person on the show. However, we have got some audio clips of Emma giving her picks for all of those award categories as well. So you know what? It is pretty much going to be like she's here. We'll
Yeah, I have
react.
virtual Emma in my hand here in my phone. I'm going to play her down the microphone
Oh
when the
yeah,
time comes.
amazing stuff when the time comes. So, in terms of awards, do we want to go? We want to go in the order of the list, don't we? Because we don't want to go reverse order. We'll just pick best film first. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Okay.
mostly because that's the order I've got Emma's sound clips and they're not
Yeah. Yeah.
labeled. So
I was literally about to go. Should we do it reverse order?
I was
And
like,
then I realized
absolutely not.
absolutely not. Okay. So the first category is just going to be best feature film. Shall I just say mine? You say yours, and then we'll go
I
to Emma.
think, and I tried, like, again, a little peek behind the curtain. I had the benefit of knowing your awards because you sent them to me before I sent you yours. So, not going to say it definitely changed my order, but it did to a degree because I kind of wanted to choose different ones, and I also gave
Yeah.
myself a little rule of
I did
never to
that
have the
as
same film twice.
I did that as well. You made me change my view on a couple where I was like, oh yeah, I kind of forgot about that.
Oh,
But
so
yeah,
you've changed them. I haven't seen
only
surprises.
one, only
I do
one,
think we have
only
got the
one.
same. I do think we've both got the same best feature though, so we can share this
Yes,
one.
we can. So my choice and Andy's choice for best feature, we've gone for Strange Darling. Now, I think one of the reasons that I chose this film is because I knew next to nothing about it going in. And it blew me away in more ways than one. Like as I mentioned on the show, like it when it started, oh, it's a non-linear narrative. It's got title cards for the chapters, bit pretentious. Then it kind of felt like it was just a standard kind of like cat and mouse thriller. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'll just say that. And then it just went in different directions, which I really didn't expect. And I think the lead performances were so good that they just elevated it to the next level. You wouldn't call it a straight up horror. You'd probably just call it like a thriller. But I just feel like everything from that opening sequence of Willa Fitzgerald running in slow motion, all the way to, you know, some final act moments where it was like, holy shit. I didn't see that coming. Um, yeah, highly recommended. Great soundtrack as well, and then cinematography by Giovanni Ribisi was great as well. And obviously the direction was solid, but yeah. What are you saying,
Yeah,
Andy?
no, I mean I don't want to repeat anything you said, Ben, but similarly, I was so surprised by Strange Darling, delighted by the character work, wonderful performances throughout, and that was the film I kind of came away thinking, geez, I can't wait to show that to other people. I can't wait for that to be out in cinemas here and be able to say to other
Yeah.
friends and family members, go and see that and like to a degree, it's one of those films where you kind of want to see other people's reaction to it as well, I think, to see
Yeah.
what, to see them experience some surprises as it goes along. Yeah, highly, highly recommended that one. There are a few films that I don't know if seeing them would have changed. I think we'll discuss one in just a minute, but
Mm.
this was my big pick for the entire festival.
The big pick. And now, what we've all been waiting for, what did Emma Cownley pick as best feature film of FrightFest 2024?
Over to you, Emma.
First up, best feature has to be The Substance. I knew I was going to like it based on the premise and the cast, and I was just not prepared for how much I was going to love this. I think it is the next big thing in horror, in the whole genre. That's how much I loved it. I thought it was incredible. The blend of like that bitter, sarcastic female humor mixed in with those beautiful, vibrant visuals and the utter disgustingness of all of that body horror, and how even the mundane can be disgusting as well. Loved it. Loved it, loved it, loved it.
There you go.
Oh,
I
wow.
think that review, more than anything else I've seen, has me desperate to see The Substance.
Yeah. I mean, do you remember when Emma popped up right at the end when we're doing our outro and delivered like two of the most well-rounded, um,
Yeah,
perfect
two
reviews
two of
for the
the
Dead
two of the
Thing and St.
best
Clair?
worded reviews that I have had. I think the only one that I did that came anywhere close to it was the one that I did at 3 in the morning while I was walking home, several vodkas in. Nothing else was
Oh,
that articulate.
I don't know if I did any, to be fair. Mine were all like, oh, it was very good. Well done to everyone involved. But yeah, so the reason me and Andy didn't see The Substance is because we had to pack up our balls and leave. We had to head home on Monday. So we did actually give our tickets for The Substance to Colin G. Cooper, who was on the show. He was telling us, well, live on the show, actually, he told us, you know what? I haven't got a ticket. I'm gutted. I'm trying to get a ticket, couldn't get one. And then me and Andy swooped in. Well, mainly you, Andy, but I was there as
Save
well.
the day.
Swooped in, saved the day, have a ticket, and as far as I can tell from his posts on Instagram, he loved it too. So, and I keep seeing trailers for it, keep seeing marketing for it on TV and on YouTube. So, 20th of September is when it releases here in the
That's right.
UK.
Not long to wait, so we can catch up on it very, very soon. And now, because of that anticipation, I'm
Yeah.
going to get straight on this one, I think.
Yeah, yeah, me too, absolutely. A great closing film by all accounts, it seems. Okay, best director. For me, I'm gonna go for the pair of directors, Joe DeBoer and Kyle McConney. I think that's how you say that surname, but they're the pair of directors who directed Dead Male. I think the reason I'm gonna say this is because I think it was unlike anything else that was at Fright Fest. I feel like just the this kind of style of filmmaking, the oddball nature of like some of the characters, the cinematography, the pacing of like the whole film, the fact that you kind of got, and again, this isn't a spoiler, but you kind of focus on one character, then the POV is switched up very quickly, and a very unconventional film as well. I think it's really difficult to put. Like I tried to explain it to someone the other day, and I said, right, okay. Synthesizers, right? Synthesizers. And what a weird way to start like describing a film where there's this guy who goes into business with another guy. Again, no spoilers, but I just feel like it was great. And it's one of those things where I'm like, I could watch this as like a TV show, like something
Mm.
where somebody tracks down the the location where a parcel or a letter was supposed to be sent, tracks down where it should go when it's been packaged or labeled wrong. Sounds really mundane, right?
You
But
like to watch it
no,
like people watch like Repair Shop and stuff, like
yeah.
genuinely just like a little bit of general interest daytime TV.
Especially if we start leaning into the true crime nature and the mystery nature. And again, wouldn't necessarily say it's a straight up horror film. It obviously has some horror elements to it, and very darkly had some really real dark comedy to it as well. It was just an oddball, over the top. Over the top's probably not the way of describing it. I'm gonna go take a step back actually. Oddball, not over the top. That's what I meant.
Understated.
Understated. There we go. Thank you, Andy. Andy Thesaurus Turner. So yeah, that's my best pick for director.
Okay, I'll tell you what, as I've got her here, I'll let Emma go second. Emma, over to you.
Goes without saying as well that the best director is Coralie Farge for The Substance. I think she's really doing something special. I can't wait to see what she gets up to next. I think the mixture of just visceral horror and sumptuous gorgeousness is amazing. And I've never seen footage that caters to the male gaze from a female's perspective, done ironically to highlight the prevalence of the male gaze, the
Oh.
lingering on women's bodies and stuff, and the lengths we'll go to hurt ourselves to conform, and just the way that she showed it and portrayed it, her visual language, stunning, 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 stunning.
There you go.
Wow.
There's another
I feel like I want to give
huge
up now,
plaudit
Andy. I feel
for.
I feel the pressure of trying to deliver a well-rounded review. So obviously that director, she directed Revenge as well, the French rape revenge action thriller. I've not actually seen that either, so now I feel like the substance is getting so many plaudits. I probably do need to go back and watch Revenge as well.
Go back and watch some of those. Okay, my best director. I could not let FrightFest this year go by without at least one nod for this film. Much like you and Dead Male, not necessarily a horror film, but definitely genre cinema. I'm giving my best director to Junichi Yasuda for A Samurai in Time.
Yeah.
A film I absolutely loved. I know you haven't perhaps been able to see it yet, right, Ben? But
No, unfortunately
I
not.
I loved it so much, and it was as I was looking through it, like there are some wonderful performances in it. There's some really heartfelt character moments as well. I think it's a very a cultural touch point, and it's certainly from us not being from that country, it is something that it delivers very effectively, and it was understandable to me despite it not being my own personal culture that I grew up in.
Mm.
There are just so many wonderful character moments, and of all the films I watched, there were moments across the board at Fright Fest when I was scared, I was worried for characters, thought something scary was going to happen. I saw some effective cinema work, but there is a scene as the plot of Samurai in Time culminates to its end, and so often it's just a really nice, heartfelt story, but then it builds to something towards the end, which I don't want to say very much about because I don't want to spoil. But genuinely, I had my hands covering my mouth. I was so like on edge about what was going to happen there. And it
Mm.
isn't delivered by tricks of the camera or effects, it's delivered by the steadfastness of the characters and what they are like bound to do and what their position in life is and how that is brought across in the film. As I say, like when a film can have like an action as simple as a lady who's looking after a guy who is staying at a house a piece of cake, and his reaction to that can almost move you to tears because of how just wonderful it is. And I think I mentioned this in the episode. I think when we look back into things from the past, the recent past, the distant past, we are so often really
Mm.
focused on how things have
Mm.
emotional, character driven storytelling. And I think the director has a huge part in what he brought out from all of those great actors there as well. So that is my
Mm.
award.
Absolutely. I am I'm really looking forward to the chance I'll be able to see that whenever that may be in the near future. Um Lovely bit of cake, Mr. Kipling, was it?
Exceedingly good cakes, yeah.
Exceedingly good cakes. Okay, best cast. I'm gonna go for Members Club. Now, of course, led by Fright Fest, Fright Fest regular, the most common name on all Fright Fest posters this year, Mr. Dean Kilby. I just feel like this was, of course, calling this film Members Club, a horror take on the Full Monty makes you picture a lot in your mind. You kind of
Mhm.
think I don't want to say you kind of say middle-aged men who maybe at the past the peak of their attractiveness potentially. I don't want to say that sounds a bit mean to Dean Kilby and co. But
They're virile
Cat,
men, Ben. They've
virile
got it.
men, 100%. But yeah, this cast, I feel like there were some great comedic moments. Some of the supporting cast were great as well. I felt like everyone was having a blast. And sometimes you watch a film and you're there with the cast and crew and the families of, and everyone's loving it. Like it's a huge, huge moment for them. And I just feel like that the love for that particular story just was shown by everybody who was attending. So it kind of really made me come into the fold and feel like, okay, I understand this. If I would have just watched that film at home on my own, I might have felt slightly different. I might have been like, yeah, I liked it, but but when you feel like you understand where these people are coming from, it really, and I think I felt like that after How to Kill Monsters, which I think I nominated for Best Cast last year, is that you just feel like the culmination of a story for a lot of people on and off the screen. So yeah, I'll go for Members Club for best cast.
Oh, there we go. My best cast, Ben, I went for Bookworm, which I know you might get another mention a little bit later on, but um, looking at the cast overall, and I know that slight hands up, not supporting independent and smaller films enough because this one does have some A-listers in it as well. But the cast worked so well. Elijah Wood continues to show like the different characters he can play, quite a comedic role that he plays here. Michael Smiley and
Oh, Michael Smiley, man,
Michael
that film
Smiley had a fantastic
cracking
character
me up.
piece here as well.
Yeah.
Morgana O'Reilly is the mom as well, like only a small part to play, but brilliant. But
Hmm.
absolutely the show fully stolen by Nell Fisher as Mildred as well. I think we talked about
Oh
it
yeah.
coming out of the film that I think certainly of our era growing up, there was a certain recognition of if you're a kid, you'll perhaps act in such a way, and there was very much like an era of the child actor.
Yeah.
Um, she's just an excellent actor. I thought she was brilliant.
Yeah.
Really well
And
delivered from start to finish. Like funny throughout, but then there were some really emotional beats where you really did feel for it as like this is a little kid, and you just like, oh, I like you would look after this like very sweet, very endearing kid that has
mhm.
interesting stuff going on and absolutely delivers those lines
Oh yeah.
like with absolute aplomb. She was
Like on
fantastic.
paper, that could have easily been a character where we go, oh, this is a little annoying kid.
You'd
Wasn't
be like,
really a
all right,
really
young
nice kid.
Sheldon, wind it in, but it wasn't like
But
that at
it
all.
wasn't like that at all. No, absolutely not. So yeah, absolutely fantastic performance. Um, what did Emma choose
Let's
for?
see what Emma's got to say for
Let's see
best
what Emma's
cast.
got to say.
Best cast, I'm going to surprise you a little bit and say Members Club, just because I think that the kind of main gang of male dancers and their little kind of, what is he, like their agent or whatever, they had such great chemistry. It was really believable that they'd been friends for a really long time. They all shared a
Yeah.
similar vibe. And I just thought they gelled really well together. So it was kind of like an overall cast. I really liked that. I thought they were great together.
There you go, you and Emma, same
Yeah,
page.
I think I agree. I could totally forgot about the agent, driver, manager character. Um, sorry, I haven't got his name in front of me, but Big Mad Andy from Peep Show. I thought he was just going to be like a minor character, like oh, he's going to drop him off and then he's going to go home or something. He ended up becoming like a real big part to play. And that point that Emma made about it was really believable that these guys were friends, like lifelong friends as well. It was believable. I did believe it. Like you've got kind of got that dynamic in a group, haven't you? Where someone's kind of
Hmm.
like there may be like one or two of them are kind of like the leaders. You got one who's a bit of a maverick, one who's maybe a bit quieter, just goes along with it, and then a really weird one. I think you know what I mean by that. Um, but there we go. That was, yeah, I agree. I agree.
What is up on the awards docket next, Ben?
Okay, next we've got best performance, and I'm gonna go for. You don't want me going first every time, do you, Andy? I feel like I'm steamrolling in.
No, no,
I'm
it
gonna.
helps get everything else set up. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna go for Willa Fitzgerald, who was the co-lead in Strange Darling, because it sounds like a bit cliche, but what a chameleon. What a chameleon. So it's a very complex character, a character that we're kind of like, oh, are we kind of we want this character to kind of succeed, right? And then as time goes on, maybe your opinion of her changes drastically. And also, I feel like for someone who just like got some different wigs on or whatever, got a different color hair and then got a wig on, completely like look totally different, like in terms of what role in the overall narrative she was playing in that moment. I was like, I couldn't quite believe it. And also, like, I'm surprised that I've not seen her in anything before. I've obviously missed, she's a bit of a cinematic blind spot for me in terms of what she's been in before. But because she's in the Scream TV show. She's in Reacher. She's in The Fall of the House of Usher. So yeah, all things I've not quite seen, but extremely impressed by her. She was like equally. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but sometimes, sometimes Scream Queen, victim. Other times, bit sinister. I wouldn't say anything else, but I would hugely recommend go and watch Strange Darling because it is a huge performance, a dominating performance, and you've got the Kyle Gallner she's acting alongside, like he's great as well. He's probably got less to do, um, in terms of like heavy lifting in the film, but he is also solid. But she gets head and shoulders above, other shampoos are available above like anyone else, I would say, in this particular film. And there were some great lead performances, throughout. And one thing that I think Emma mentioned was the lead performance in the Dead Thing as well. And I will say, in a similar way, um, also a very, very good performance. But yeah, Willa Fitzgerald for me.
Willa Fitzgerald. It could well have been my answer as well, but ultimately, again, I wanted to variety, Ben. It's the
Spice of
slice
life.
of rice. I wanted to mix it up a little bit, but nothing against Willa Fitzgerald. I think she did a fantastic turn, and I wrote up in my review for it as well. I think it's especially as you mentioned, someone who's had quite an extensive career, but I feel that is really a career-defining performance. But
Mm.
I wanted to give my award to Rebecca Calder for this one for Broken Bird and her performance in it because
Hmm.
a really, really, I thought a wonderful performance and really central to that film being as successful for me as it was when I was watching it. Um, it's, I think we mentioned it, certainly to each other. It had, as a film overall, this thriller, but with a character who fairly early on is established as there's going to be central and there's something going on with them. A big 1 hour photo energy about it to a degree, like quite a
Yeah.
troubled and flawed person that's behind this. But two things about her. One, I think she plays it in quite an endearing way. So even when she's doing some things that are criminal, even when she's doing some things that are just a bit petty and mean, like crunching crisps while someone's reading poetry, um, it's
Yeah.
it's quite an endearing performance. And even as some of the things she does in the film are quite terrible, you also kind of want her to carry on and get away with it to a degree, right? Because you also kind of want to see her happy and succeed in some ways because there is a tragedy to the character. But then part of it as well, I think a really engaging performance really brings this character to life. Really fully fleshed out, really interesting. The little and I think this is what you get when you have an actor that really incredibly embodies a character, like the subtle movements that she makes, the really precise things about her, like when sometimes I feel like I'm talking about jazz rather than acting, but like sometimes it's the things that she doesn't say, or the beats of silence that she leaves, or the little tiny character moments that we see her when she isn't interacting with other people, but one of the opening scenes where she's just like trimming like a single hair of her fringe to make sure that it's absolutely in line. And the sort of fantasies she loses herself in, I thought it was just a
Yeah.
really, really fantastic performance, and I think it is a character that will stick with me for a long time. And you would love to see her portray that role and extend it even more.
Yep. Yep. Absolutely. I
That
agree.
was that was what I had for that one. Would you
Rebecca
like to hear what Emma
Calder.
chose?
Would I like to hear? Of
Yes,
course I
please.
would. Absolutely.
Well, here you go. Here's Emma.
Best performance, Bella Thorne in um, St. Clair. I just think she's so underrated as an actor. I found her character to be really motivated and likable, and I just wanted her to succeed, and I was rooting for her. And I was even like, do you know what? I could be mates with this girl. Like, that's how much I liked that character, and she brought this relatability to it, but also in such unusual circumstances to be able to relate to a character going through something as weird as that. I wanted the best for her. So I think that's a win.
There you
Oh
go.
yes. Another film that we missed. So St. Clair we need to definitely check out. Um Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah, we need to get caught up on these as and when they become available. I do want to sort of complete Fright Fest eventually when we get there, but hearing these ones that we missed is kind of really pushing my motivation to see the ones I didn't quite manage, you know?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. Okay, next up, best short. So, me, I unfortunately didn't see many shorts because I didn't manage to get tickets for any of the short film showcases. Boo hoo. I think last year I managed to see all of the short film showcases. That was kind of frustrating, but very nice. Very a nice surprise was that there was a short film playing just before Generation Terror on the final day, and it was called Barista. And luckily for this Fright Fest Awards season, I loved it. Directed by Zach Parker, starring Lizzie Walther. It's a very, very silly, um, comedic sort of barista serial killer killing people for various reasons. What's that? You want oat milk in this? How dare you? What's that? You're slating my latte art. How dare you? You're dead. Just like stuff like that. Loads of silly things. And yeah, I was chuckling away, enjoying myself. And again, another one of those things where like this would be great as like a feature, like a hobo with a shotgun style, over the top grindhouse schlocky B movie. I can't remember what the tagline was. It had the word bean in it. I want to say like you've been warned. I don't know.
You've been
Something like
more
that.
very good.
Very good. But yeah, so Barista is the best short for me.
Okay, I tell you what, I'll play Emma's now. This is Emma's short. She also has a little bit of a cheat, not in the showcases. So here's Emma's.
Best short, I'm absolutely going to cheat with this one because I didn't see any of the short film showcases and I only saw one short film that was played before a feature and I didn't really think it was that great. It was kind of a done concept. I don't like ambiguity in that way. I didn't gel with it. So I'm cheating and I'm taking one of the short stories from Hauntology, the first short story of the trans witch who uses a spell to inhabit her true body. I thought that was great. I really liked it. I liked how it was all framed up. I loved it.
Awesome. I
There
mean,
you
you
go.
not really a cheat. Like I think it kind of
Yeah, an
counts, doesn't it?
anthology. That's several short films, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Uh,
you,
uh,
you, you,
um,
you had all the short films. You got
I
loads to
did.
pick
I
from.
saw two out of the three lots of short films. I am going to have to issue an apology though, because the short film that actually was my pick, I can't find that it has an IMDb or a letterbox page, so um I
Oh
can't
no.
quote anyone unless you're able to do faster Googling than I did, Ben, and find anything. But I mean, there's a few that I really enjoyed all the way through. I really enjoyed Cakes. I enjoyed One Star Review. I enjoyed there were so many actually that there weren't any bad films that I saw in the short film showcase. Bath Bomb was also great, but ultimately the one I'm going to give it to is one that I really enjoyed called It's Really You. And it is an exorcism story. It is a priest comes round to exorcise a demon from someone who's been possessed, and when he gets up there into the room, he speaks to the demon, and it's a demon that has been following him for his entire career, and has kind of got like an emotional attachment to this priest now, and it is framed very much as like a relationship discussion or a breakup discussion, like, oh, you can't keep doing this, we have to move on with our lives and these things. It is, as that would suggest, it's a comedic turn, but it does have some wonderful effects in it, and I just found it a really fun and compelling short that did things a little differently. And as you know, Ben, I'm a big sucker for a bit of horror comedy, and I think this landed perfectly for me. So
Wonderful.
if we can't find it before we go, I will dig it up and I will give it to you so you can add it into the show notes, or maybe we'll do a post about it.
I can give it to you. What do you need from me? I got all the information here in
You've
front of
got it
me.
all
I can
here.
just
Who was the director? Who were the stars, Ben?
Director was Rich Rose, and Rich Rose even dropped us an Instagram message saying thank you for our kind words about the short during our mainline episode. He's going to want to give us another inbox, I think, now that you've given him the given him the award for best short. I'll tag him in the post when we do it, when we mention what our awards are, starring Richard Hugh, Amanita Francis, Joseph Adelakun. It was the European premiere, and it is a British production, right?
Sorry, I missed that last word. It's a what production?
British production. I think it's a UK
Yeah,
production.
based on the accents of everyone in it. Yes, I'd assume so.
Nice one. Lovely choice. There we go. Sounds good. I'll be looking forward to that as well. So, best hangout film. Um, I switched up my answer for this because for some reason I was thinking, oh, I'm only going to go for films that premiered at Fright Fest that were like releasing then. But then you mentioned Razorblade Smile, and it kind of made me think, oh, you know what? That is right up my street, right up my alley. A real enjoyable time, and especially watching it with some of the cast and crew, and Jake and Aaron as well, and again to talk to everybody extensively afterwards, all about it. It kind of makes me feel like I'm a bit of an insider now. So when I recommend this film to people, or when I sit down and watch it with somebody, it's the perfect hangout film because you know what? I've got loads of insider information, loads of tidbits, all the great stuff. I can say, see that villain there, Christopher Adamson. I sat 2 seats away from him while we were watching it in the front row, 4K restoration style.
And he asked me if I enjoyed it. Yes, I did, Chris.
Yeah, he did. He asked you if you enjoyed it. Also, I love the ASMR vibes. Dead Mail gave me the ASMR vibes. Andy Conduit Turner's interview of Christopher Adamson as the screen is emptied, as the lights have gone, as the lights come up, but then go back down as they try to get us to leave. Your quiet, lovely interview of Christopher Adamson, top notch. I love it. So yeah, I just feel like it's one of those films that it feels like first of all it's British, which is I obviously have a sincere connection to things like that because I'm an old British person myself.
It used to be a
Um,
proper country. This is when
this
that
used to
went.
be a proper country, and Razorblade Smile came out, and I just think it's a great lead performance. It's very tongue in cheek. It's very Lara Croft. It's very and Jake obviously when he mentioned about directing PlayStation, like cutscenes before he did this, it feels like that. It feels like a PlayStation cutscene come to life, and the fact that this preceded things like Underworld. Like I saw something on Twitter the other day where it was like a picture of Kate Beckinsale in Underworld and Mila Jovovich in Resident Evil, and the quote was just like "mother" or something like that. And I had to quote tweet it with a GIF of Lilith Silver and just say, "Give Lilith Silver the respect she deserves. Give her her flowers," because the fact that this came beforehand is insane because it feels like it did kind of kick off a bit of a cultural zeitgeist, a bit of a cultural phenomenon, which was leading ladies in a supernatural setting, kicking ass whilst wearing rubber.
What were they wearing
Right?
before that? Corduroy?
Everyone was before that. Everyone was decked head to toe in corduroy. Yeah, corduroy
V-
hat, trousers,
Velour.
corduroy shoes, velour. Exactly. I guess it was. What am I thinking in the 90s? Leather. I guess kind of like leather, and I guess it kind of it's the next step on, isn't it? It's going right. Okay, leather stuff. It came out in 98 actually, so leather was probably kicked off by the Matrix, so that's probably incorrect. But pretty much bondage gear, some unbelievable one-liners, and some great performances, and I keep coming back to it, Andy. But the fact it was made for 20 grand is insane, even in today's money.
That's including editing and stuff like that as well. Like 12 grand, £500 of it, the props budget. Madness.
Pure madness. Very
Yeah,
impressive.
that was my
Right.
that was my choice as well. We're aligned on that one. I think it's just such a fun hangout
Yeah,
movie.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm going to be recommending it. What did Emma Cownley choose as her best hangout movie? The most important category, I would say, of the whole.
Indeed. Let's see what she's got.
Best hangout film has to be Scared Shitless. It felt like quite nice and quick, and it's the kind of premise that you can kind of dip in and out of if you are like hanging out, or if it is indeed a horror hangout type of a thing. There's lots to talk about. It was really, really funny. The humor I felt really did land. It was the right amount of ridiculous, but it felt really accessible and chilled, if you know what I mean. Like it felt like a really chill thing to watch. It was kind of like something that you would get and you'd stick on in Halloween where you're having like a party and all of your mates are around and you can just laugh at the gore and the ridiculousness of it. I thought it was a really great party film.
There she
Absolutely.
is again. I
Absolutely.
tell you what, every single one of these is an absolute one take gold mine. We need to have Emma on more often. She's a absolute tour de force.
Showing us up. Okay. So, so yours was Radio Based Smile as well. Best scare slash death. Now, I was racking my brains for this. So I was thinking, were there many like out and out like because we've already spoken about a lot of these films. A lot of the films I enjoyed the most weren't necessarily out and out horror films. So didn't even have like what you would consider jump scares. The thing I'm going to choose for best scare slash death is the moment in. Now, I don't want to spoil anything, so I'll try and choose my words carefully. The moment in the ghost, or Tabshay,
Abtabsha.
and
I
Tabsha,
practiced.
the moment when there are some effects on somebody's face, somebody who was maybe a bit sinister to start with, but we get some effects that make their face look very, very unpleasant. Almost like a cross between the Kubrick stare from well, any Kubrick film, the Kubrick stare, and also like Willem Dafoe when he's going full Green Goblin without his mask on and just smiling at himself in the mirror. There was some. It was really good, and it was a bit like jarring in terms of the way this particular scene was edited. Like there was a hell of a lot going on, and that could have been considered too much, but I feel like it was just enough. And I would say this is probably the only film of the entire 5 days where I was a bit like, oh, ooh, it put the willies up me, if
A
you
bit spooked.
forgive the phrase. Bit spooked, where I was like, that is scary. I'm scared by this man's face. And then mere minutes later, interviewed the man who made said face. So yeah, that's what I'm choosing for best scare slash death. How can I what can I call it? Let's call it the Antabsha um Kubrick stare mega edit. Kubrick stare mega edit.
One of my favorite moments in Antabsha is when our male lead has a terrible accident that wasn't his fault. There's no blame with the claim back then. When like it's not even so much the visual of it, it is the scream that he knocks out.
Oh my god, yeah. Well, why was it not his fault? The accident. It was 100% his fault.
Yeah, he should
Bloody
have moved
idiot.
his foot, really, shouldn't he?
Well, yeah.
Um, the best death or scare, I'm going to go for a death and a massively over the top one as a memorable moment in a film here. And it is the death of, I believe, just to be frustrating, his picture is not on his on the letterbox page. I
Yeah.
believe it's David Alexander, the actor in Members Club. I mean, and I don't want to spoil it because it's a film that's not on general release
Yeah.
yet. Like, it is a moment where I'd say it's the first kill when the antagonist of the film, who I believe this is in, yeah, that's right. It's in the summary of the film that it is a witch that is someone is having a ceremony to bring back from the dead. When we encounter the enemy witch, someone gets enchanted and is forced to kill and mutilate themselves with some horrible magic in quite a memorable way that happens in Members
Yeah.
Club. It is immediately over the top. It's gross. It makes you feel uncomfortable. It is the first time we get to see some prosthetics in use in the film. It is
Yeah.
a memorable death. It's a shame, like obviously these films that are quite new, so we can't spoil them at this point.
No. Who
But
wouldn't want to? Wouldn't want to
certainly
spoil them on air.
a memorable moment, right?
Hell yes. Okay. What is Emma choosing for best scare slash death? We have streamlined some of these categories from last year. I think we had best scare and best death as separate ones, but we streamlined them. So that is
Yeah.
now a category together, best scare slash
Right.
death.
See what Emma had for us.
I'm awarding Best Death to the finale death in the Icelandic film Delirium, just because it was so depressing. And really, I should have been expecting it, but I wasn't. And it really took the rug out from underneath me. Bleak, 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 bleak. But a real kind of little twist at the end. I mean, I don't think that the ghost at the heart of the curse in the film was particularly impactful or scary, but the impact of the curse was very scary. And I think that the ending was really, I enjoyed it. It really left me feeling forlorn.
Oh, not
Left a feeling
forlorn.
forlorn. Another one we haven't seen yet. We have to catch up on that as well.
Yeah. It looks like Emma Cownley filled in the blanks for us perfectly, right?
Yeah, she did
Um,
very well.
ideal. Okay, so next up, best effects we've gone for. So I have gone for the movie we saw on day one, which is Test Screening. Again, I don't want to spoil things too much for this, but what I will say is that the effects are obviously practical, very body horror focused, and again, without trying not to spoil anything, very reminiscent of something like Society and Sliver, for example.
Hmm.
The human
Um,
form and the flesh of the human form being made into something disgusting,
yeah, and I'm with you
grotesque.
on that one. We chose the same thing, I believe. So yeah, I chose test screening as well for the very same reasons. The practicality of it in particular.
Yep.
There is a creature we meet in and around a bathtub, which I found really very disturbing. And there's also like a scene
Yeah.
in like a teenage hangout at a bloody barn dance later on, which becomes like a moment of absolute horror. So yeah, really, really good. Really, really appreciate the effects on that, and I'll always turn up for a little bit of
Absolutely.
practicality. Let's see
I
what Emma
agree.
had, shall we?
Yes. Let's.
Best effects has to go to the substance. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, no competition, nothing else comes close. I wouldn't even be able to kind of give any details as to what really rocked my world without absolutely spoiling the end of the film for anybody who's going to go and see it. But I've never seen anything like that. My jaw was my mouth was hanging open in that final scene. I couldn't believe that those ideas came out of another human's brain. I was aghast. I was delighted. The guy next to me nearly threw up. It was amazing. It was the best thing I've ever seen.
Oh my God.
I tell you what, the substance. If you haven't got a marketing partner for your UK release yet, let me get in touch. We'll give you Emma's number.
Wow. I mean, yeah, my my need to see this film just keeps getting ramped up every moment. So, wow. Sounds sounds insane. I love it when things make your jaw drop.
Yeah.
Um, Unbelievable. Okay, so next up, we're gonna go for biggest surprise. I guess film that you had one expectation of and it went a different way. I'd say there's quite a few this year. I would say something like Strange Darling is definitely one of them. Members Club probably another. Dead Male also possibly another. The main reason being for Dead Male is that I kind of thought, oh, it's got the word dead in it. Dead male, okay. Haunted bloody letters and stuff. I don't know. You kind of think, you expect one thing or another. But my biggest surprise, I'm going to go for Bookworm. Because again, didn't really know much about it. Only really had seen the poster and like the fact that Elijah Wood was in it. I didn't expect it. So Hunt for the Wilder People was one of my favorite films back in 2016. I want to say 2016, whenever it released. One of my favorite films because it's got that very specific, very quintessentially New Zealandish, New Zealand humor, Kiwi humor is the word I'm looking for. Then, the likes of like Flight of the Conchords has, which I've always gravitated towards. But in that, the most delightful father-daughter story ever, and as somebody who's a father to a daughter, I felt like I could really connect with that, especially like as kids get older and sort of change and sometimes you can feel like maybe as a dad and a daughter you're quite different in terms of personality, but you want to always find that common ground and I find that connection. I felt like this was a great way of exploring that. It was really heartfelt. It was really beautiful. And yeah, again, not a horror film at all, but I think that was why it was the biggest surprise is that I felt like for attending a horror film festival, you kind of go into everything expecting one thing or another, and this was none of those and then some.
Yeah. Very good.
What about
And
you,
and
Andy?
a bit like the main characters are, you're also an illusionist, aren't you?
I am also an illusionist. I've been doing illusions all the way through this. Uh,
Have you ever single-handedly destroyed someone's belief in magic?
no, but I could try. And to be fair, I've always thought David Blaine was a bit dodgy, so I'm glad
Yeah.
to find out. I know it's not true this film, but it might as well be that David Blaine stole all of his best ideas from somebody.
Um,
Spoiler alert.
would you like to? I'm going to let Emma go first for this one. Here is
Okay.
Emma's biggest surprise.
My biggest surprise is going to be The Last Voyage of the Demeter. just because don't really go to Fright Fest for big budget Hollywood horrors. That's not what the festival is about for me. But I thought I would go and see it anyway because I really like the director, I like his other stuff. So I was like, do you know what? Fuck it, I'll go and see it. I had no idea that there was going to be such an all-star cast, and I had no idea that I was going to enjoy it as much as I did. I felt like the action scenes were really high octane. There was drama. It was cinematic. It was surprisingly kind of fucked up and gory for what it was. Like, it was actually quite scary. Um, so yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think I'd actually watch it again, which surprises me.
There you
Great
go.
choice. Great choice.
You kind of named it in your potential list for biggest surprise, Ben. I gave my biggest surprise to Dead Male. Um, some of the
Mm,
same reasons that you've described enjoying it so much. I just not just that it was one surprise. You know, if someone had told you this one at the beginning that is a man who goes into business with someone to make the world's best synthesizer, and maybe their relationship sours along the way. Like it's, you don't know what to expect from that, but all of the elements that came together, and every time we got a change of perspective, so from the man working in the dead letters office to the antagonist of the film, played wonderfully by John Fleck. I think his performance in it was stunning. Put him in
mm.
line for the best performance as well, certainly. To the other people working in the office, and those constant shifts of the focus of the film really
Yeah.
just kept me guessing, and it really kept the whole affair very surprising and not like I expected from this film on paper, or even from the introduction. Mark Commode came over and gave a an introduction to this movie, and even from his introduction, which in hindsight it does make sense. It was definitely on point, but from her hearing you describe it to then watching the film begin to gain momentum and to take shape, uh, like completely blew my expectations away. So
Mm.
that's where we are. The final category, Ben.
Absolutely. Okay, wild card. It's a film that's been mentioned already, but I'm gonna say Scared Shitless. Similar reasons to what Emma chose for best hangout movie. Just kind of one of those films again, you kind of see the title of it and you kind of go, all right, okay. You kind of expect one thing or another. But yeah, really good creature feature. Just some great some really nuanced sort of characters as well going on. You've kind of got like a guy who's a bit of a what's the word when you're stuck indoors? Agoraphobic
Yeah.
guy, and then like his dad who's trying to bring him out of his shell a little bit, and there's a dog, all of the things you kind of need in a film like this, and then some great practical effects as well. So yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a good time.
My wild card, Ben, and I thought about this long and hard. I'm going to play a wild card and accept it because normally I would, like you, I was trying to choose things that I saw for the first time at Fright Fest. And I saw this film at a previous Fright Fest. I saw it at Fright Fest in Glasgow and we spoke about it then. But given its big moment on the London stage, given that it's not yet out for general audiences to see, I need to use my wild card to give another little bump and a bit of recognition to The Invisible Raptor, even as a second watching, like so enjoyable throughout, so full of delight and surprises. And, having now been lucky enough to meet the cast and crew, all just such nice, like warm people who really loved the thing they did and took so much joy out of not only making it, but then
Hmm.
seeing people see it, that I need to use the little platform, the couple of moments we have here to continue to recommend people seek it out. We know that they have secured distribution in the US now, so it's going to be coming out, very, very soon over there. I'm sure international distribution for a film that is trending so well wherever
Yeah.
it screens will not be too far behind now. If the good folks at Raven Banner are listening, come on, give them a call. But like, yeah, I cannot recommend it highly enough. It is another film that I cannot wait for more people to be able to have seen and to
Yeah.
talk about and to defy those expectations. We talked about it in during our time in Glasgow that it reads on paper like this is a sci-fi channel original, but it is so much that is a really heartfelt horror
Yeah.
comedy with a lot of really fun ideas. And yeah, very, very
Yeah.
enjoyable.
I think what this festival's taught me mainly is like not to judge films based on their title and then maybe even like a tagline
Yeah, even the
because
synopsis that's written up, like it's hard to take it from that.
most of these things were films that like obviously I'd not seen a trailer for before because I didn't really want to go and hunt down any trailers before I watched them. I kind of went in blind for most of them. And I guess most films that I'd watch in the cinema I'd know a lot about, whether it was the director, a star, um, what the story we'd kind of seen a trailer and we kind of knew that much about. With Fright Fest, it really gives you an opportunity to just go and watch films based on like just the title alone. Just
Just
like,
when
oh,
you're
what's this?
available.
Just when you're available. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I think that's what it teaches me. It teaches me to go, okay, I think it's going to be this thing, and my brain, obviously, we do that as human beings. We do that. We go, okay, I'm going to make an assumption based on what this is going to be, and when I'm correct, I'll go, ha, see, I knew it. But luckily for Fright Fest, probably almost every time, I'm like, that was nothing like I expected at all, and
Yeah.
it's a nice surprise. Have we
Speaking of
got
nice
anything
surprises,
left?
though, we've got one more wild card. Let's get Emma's wild card to wrap up
Let's do
on
it.
our Fright Fest awards for another year, and then we'll get into
Let's do it.
it itself.
And finally, my wild card is going to be The Dead Thing. I actually wasn't going to go to that screening at all. It didn't really seem like something that would appeal to me, but I thought, do you know what? It's the last day. I'm just going to go and see everything that I'm able to see and just take the opportunity. And that film blew me away. I just wasn't expecting it. And based on the premise, I kind of had an idea of what it would be like, kind of an urban legend based on a dating app and how we're all so disconnected from one another and we've never been lonelier. And I was like, okay, yeah, like tell me something I don't know. Blah. But oh my God, I was not prepared for how sensual it would be, how gorgeous, how kind of it has an out of time quality. And I really do love that weird, toxic, paranormal relationship at the core. It feels very American Horror Story Murder House to me, and I'm here for it. I'll watch that again all day long.
There we
Yeah.
go.
Got to agree, and something similar. I wasn't gonna necessarily go and watch that film. I was getting to it was the last day. I was feeling pretty tired. I was like, you know what? I could take my time. We had to pack our bag that morning. I was like, if we could just skip the first film, and I had a bit more time. But I went, no, you know what? Let's do it. And yeah, that kind of toxic relationship, supernatural thing, I think was done well. I feel like a film that tried to do it was Kill Your Lover from Fright Fest Glasgow. I think that really tried to like lean into the toxic relationship supernatural thing going on. But this film, I feel like just nailed it. It kind of just had that sort of it felt a bit Black Mirror, I guess, in a way. But the fact it was kind of like actors that obviously we'd never seen before, unknown actors to us, it kind of just made it feel a little bit more genuine. Um, and again, just from the title, The Dead Thing, and I mentioned this on last week's podcast. I kind of pictured like a Blumhouse type. Oh yeah, okay. What? Oh, there's no one left to match with. Everyone's in a relationship. I've only got a match with a ghost. Just my luck. Um, but it didn't do that, which was good. It was very unexpected.
Yeah, I need to catch up on
Good
that one
wild
as soon
card
as I
pick.
can.
Yes, indeed.
So there we go. I mean, there's our Fright Fest awards for another
Yes.
year. It's not the end of Fright Fest for the year. I imagine there will be like a shorter event over Halloween. I
Yep.
doubt we'll make it to that because you'll be off getting married and I will be still living hundreds of miles away. So we can admire that from afar.
Yep.
But
There
this
we
will
go.
almost certainly, lottery wins or untimely deaths aside, we'll be at other Fright Fests in the future, possibly Glasgow again. It's certainly very close to
Timely
my house.
deaths. Yeah, man,
Um,
definitely. But congratulations to everyone who had a film at Fright Fest, and extra congratulations if we picked your film for one of these awards. And also, well done to the organizers again for yet another fantastic event. I feel like I know it's moved venue many times before, but moving the venue to the Odeon, I think initially I was a bit like, I'm not sure what to expect, but an inspired choice
yeah,
indeed.
really, really great. Like just such a wonderful weekend. And like whether we've called out the film in these episodes, I mean, if it was in the main episode, we definitely shouted about everything that we saw.
mm,
Not so much all of the shorts because it's hard to rattle off 11 things off the top of the dome. We don't carry clipboards. Maybe next year. Um, but yeah, I think tremendous congratulations to everyone who had a film screened. We still want to catch up on some more, though we have some screeners that are still active that we still want to get through. I'm going to be looking out for others when they get released. There is
Yeah.
there is an excellent list if you are a Letterboxd user. If you do a search, if you use that search function to look up FrightFest definitive list, there is a complete list of films, at least all of them that have Letterboxd entries for all of the films they've ever screened at FrightFest. So you can find that list for yourself, and you can add those to your watch list too. If we've said anything that is inspiring there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And people
There we
getting their
go.
money's worth these last couple of weeks because we've knocked out, I imagine, just over an hour, and we haven't got into the film yet.
Jesus, this could be a bonus episode. Okay, but remember, time codes in it. So time codes in the show notes, so you know exactly where to skip. If you've missed Fright Fest completely, skip that. Get straight into the review. I will let's very quickly do some news and then what we've been watching. So keen to get started with talking about the film. So in terms of news, the Terrifier 3 trailer that dropped while we were at Fright Fest. I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet, Andy, but the first
Not
one
yet.
before was like a teaser. I think this one shows that they're leaning into, the over the top, unbelievably gory nature, possibly even more so. But also, there's a bit of a supernatural take on it anyway. I think that was always we were always aware that was going to be it. But yeah, it is released on the 11th of October. It's going to be in theaters. I know in the UK at the end of September, there's like a double bill, Terrifier 1 and 2 being shown in cinemas as well. So if you love yourself a bit of Art the Clown, this end portion of 2024 is going to be very exciting for you. There is a Red Band trailer on YouTube. I think it's called The Naughty Cut. I guess we're leaning into the fact that it takes place at Christmas and Art the Clown's dressed as bloody Santa Claus. But yeah, so essentially, after surviving Art the Clown's Halloween massacre, Sienna and her brother are struggling to rebuild their shattered lives. I think it might say that it's like 5 years since Terrifier 2. Possibly it says that in the trailer. They try to embrace the Christmas spirit and leave the horrors of the past behind. But Art the Clown returns, determined to turn their holiday cheer into a new nightmare. Bloody leave it out, will you, Art the Clown? Give it a rest.
Oh, fucking hell, Arts.
Talking about returning, terrifying characters, there's going to be a new Wolf Creek movie. It's called Wolf Creek Legacy. John Jarrett will return as Mick Taylor in the franchise reboot. He's been in a few films. I think there was a series as well. I think he was in that. It's weird, isn't it? Because I think John Jarrett in Australia is like a sort of light entertainment guy. So it's almost like the equivalent of, I don't know, Dale
Rod
Winton.
Hull playing
Why
Freddy Krueger.
Why have we both gone for dead people? Yeah, Dale Winton. It's like Dale Winton of Supermarket Sweep fame, and of course now deaf. Sorry, Dale. Yeah. So Mick Taylor, he's getting Wolf Creek Legacy. Do you know what? We've never done Wolf Creek on this show. That's kind of crazy, right?
We should do Wolf Creek. We should get friend of the show and notable Australian Jimmy Horrors himself back on to come and join us for that.
Jimmy, right? I know you like a lot of horror films, but how do you feel about talking to us exclusively in Aussie? And
No,
Aussie.
he can tell us. He can tell us what Jim Jarrett is most famous for in his home
That's
country.
true. Supermarket Sweep. So yeah, this film is coming out. It doesn't say, but it's a reboot. Resident Evil producer Jeremy Bolt is newly aboard. I'm assuming Resident Evil as in the series. I don't know. Who knows these days? There's so much Resident Evil going on. Sean Lahiff is director, and Lahiff was involved in Wolf Creek 2, so knows his way around the franchise. Yeah, looking forward to that. I think I've only ever seen just Wolf Creek. I don't think I've seen
I've
any
only
sequels.
seen the original.
We should get that down for an episode. I'm willing it into existence. Next month, maybe we can go take a visit to Wolf Creek. Why the hell not? And the last thing I've got on the list is there's a trailer for Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare. Yes, that's right, Andy. We're doing this. We're talking about this.
Is there really from the Pooniverse itself?
From the Pooniverse itself, and from watching the trailer, which I did, it looks heavily influenced by the likes of It and The Black Phone. We've kind of got a creepy person trying to get a kid to think Come Under the Bed or something, like Pennywise style, and also another one where there's like a evil Peter Pan who's like, oh, my bloody van's broken down, and a whole plethora of children in a school bus are basically about to become his next victims. It looks like it. He's kind of weird looking. Sometimes he's got a mask on. Sometimes he's got a bit of he's got some scarring on his face. He's got quite long hair, so he does look a little bit like the Black Phone. What was he called? The Grabber.
Grabber, yeah.
Oh, old grabbers. Um, and you know what? From looking at it, and as someone who really, really didn't vibe with Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 1 or Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2, easy for you to say. I will say something about this, and I'm ready to be proved wrong, Andy. Something about this just looks a little bit less cringe. I don't know. It doesn't look great. I won't go as far as to say it looks great, but it doesn't look cringe. It looks a little bit like I'm taking it seriously. But then again, just make a film, call it something else. What has it got to be called? Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare? Because I feel like what we're going to get is a man who's like, I never really liked the thought of growing up. I'm like Michael Jackson in a way. So we'll see what happens. Yeah,
Having Neverland Nightmares. All right, I'm gonna have to check both of those trailers out, aren't I?
check them out. Okay, flying through that. What we've been watching. So before the show, we were talking about something that you've watched recently. I think what we're going to do on Instagram is try and up it, not just Instagram, Patreon as well. Get some of Andy's lovely written reviews that he does on Letterboxd and reformat them for Horror Hangout listeners to consume as well on those social media platforms. One of which was a new film, a found footage 60-minute YouTube film. I've seen it doing the rounds, and I kind of did think I'll have to check that out, but you finally got around to it, didn't you?
Yeah, I saw a news post on the MSN homepage of all things. You know, you open a new tab on your browser and it's like, yeah, look at this
Yeah.
news. And amongst all those ones where people are going for like rage clicks, like Donald Trump says this about the thing you really care about. And I was, oh, fuck off. Not interested. But one of those things I was interested, and it said, hey, this film made for no, like literally no money, like the smallest budget you could imagine. I have to double check exactly what it is, but it is an almost non-existent amount of money. Is
$800, Andy.
$800. There you go. $800. I
800
mean,
big ones.
they've wrung every penny out of that then, because I know found footage lends itself to to lower budgets and being very forgiving of those things, but I think the achievement behind this film to make it for $800 is something very, very significant, proving time and time again that if you want someone to bring you back your return on your investment, as little as that may be, look at horror movies every time, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think so. The writer director is Curry Barker. He's also the star. Um, and yeah, it's an interesting premise. It's kind of like some YouTube pranksters doing some pranks that go a bit wrong. Again, I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, like I mean, it's an hour and 2 minutes long, so do check it out, and it's available on YouTube for the fine price of
Yeah,
free. And I didn't even get any ad rolls either on it
didn't
either.
you?
So
I
no,
did. I
maybe at the
did.
beginning and the end, but not mid.
I did. It's not the first film that they've done either. So there are a few other like short films on there as well from the I think I can't remember what the sort of studio is called. That's a bad idea. That's it. That's a bad idea is the name of the YouTube channel. And yeah, they've done some shorts as well. So I wouldn't mind going checking them out. Yeah, I quite like this for what it was in terms of $800. I don't think you can really argue with what ended up on screen for an hour and 2 minutes. It went in some unexpected directions as well.
Yeah, I think really interesting, really fun, like good performances, and I think that's how I capped off my review as well. I think it is done in a way that it is exaggerated and it is obviously a fictional story, but would you truly be surprised, Ben, if you saw a news story and the things that happened in this film had happened in real life with some of the other stories you get about people who do like prank channels and
Yeah,
stuff?
absolutely.
Yeah,
Mm.
I thought it was really, really well done.
Check it out and look out for Andy's review on our socials very soon as well. Okay, the other thing I watched was, sorry to jump in there if you've got anything
No,
else,
get
actually,
in.
Andy. Get in there, will you? So I watched Creep, the Christopher Smith 2004 movie. Um, this was featured heavily in Generation Terror, the documentary. Christopher Smith was attending as well, and there was a lot of discussion around this film. I'm pretty sure I've seen this film because there are loads of moments in it where I was like, oh, yeah, I've seen this before, but have I just seen clips of it? Don't really know, don't remember. I know there's another film called Creep. It's not that. This one is a woman gets lost in the London subway station, gets locked in essentially, and then her and some other people, a homeless couple, and then another bloke who she works with who's wrong in any way, they get pursued by something in the shadows. Is it man? Is it beast? You'll have to watch. You'll have to find out. Um, I was going to spoil it then by saying something, but I
I
won't
mean,
spoil it.
I mean,
2004 movie.
2004 movie. Do spoil it if what you're going to tell us is. Do you know the man versus beast thing? Do you know what his name is?
I know what his name is. Yes, I do. I was just
You
about.
do
Is that what
know.
I was about to say
That's what
as
you're going to say
well?
because that's one of my favorite things about the film.
Okay, they're pursued by a man or a beast called Craig.
Or for American listeners, Craig.
Craig. Craig. Um, I like it, especially like after spending 5 or 6 days in London, going on the tube loads. It does kind of
Those
make
little
you
lovely,
think.
that lovely little family of mice that we saw every night. Aren't
Oh
they
yeah, we
nice?
did see. Me and Andy did see a little family of
Like
mice
I was
one
in
night.
Sylvanian families, it was.
One night they were having a lovely bit of hot dog,
They
chowing
were.
down on that. I told Charlie this. She was like, "How do you know they were a family?" I was like, "What? I
Like, live
suppose I don't."
together.
They live
Charlie,
together,
keep up, mate.
exactly. He was like, "Well, some of them big and some of them small." I said,
Yeah.
"You're getting into the nitty-gritty detail here." Was that true? They were.
Yeah.
Um,
There was little tiny, I know all mice are comparatively tiny, but there were some that were
yeah.
bigger than others. That was one of my
I
highlights of FrightFest, actually, Ben. Those mice were lovely.
They were. Okay. And the only other thing I wanted to mention is I've watched Terminator Zero, the anime series. It is on Netflix now.
The whole
Um,
thing, you binge that all.
well, it's 8 episodes, 30 minutes each. I think first night I did
Flew
four,
by.
next night I did three, and then I finished it off today. So, um, it's a weird one because usually I would watch this in Japanese. However, in English, it's got some quite big names in the cast, like Timothy Oliphant. Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson. So I kind of wanted to watch the English dub just so I could kind of like experience these performances. And you know
Sven
what?
was like, I ain't a
As
big old weeb. I'm gonna listen to this in bloody English.
I
Teach
ain't a
me a proper
big old
country.
bloody weeb. Can't even listen to, can't even say your English these days, right? But it's oh my God, it's great. So there
Is it
are
good?
some of the best Terminator action sequences like since T2, without a doubt. Like some of the action sequences, we're like, this is kick ass. And also some of the twists. You know, sometimes in Terminator stuff, you're like, I can see the twist coming a mile off. One of them's going to be this, the other one's going to be that. The twists are amazing, expertly pulled off. That's right, pulled off. And some of the discussions around time travel, mind bending,
Oh,
mind
very good.
bending.
I'm gonna have to accelerate and watch this sooner rather than later, aren't I?
But not just that, it kind of positions Skynet in a different way. Rather than going, Skynet, absolutely without doubt, evil, destroying all the
Positive
humans,
things
can't
about it.
believe it. Now it's going,
Two sides to this
there
story.
might be something else that's involved. That this whole time you thought Skynet evil, humans good. You might be
SpaceNet, the
going,
level above.
oh no, there's some very, very interesting stuff to the point where even into the last 10 minutes of the final episode, I was like, I don't quite know who I want to come off better in this. So it was really well done. I'd highly recommend it. Terminator Zero. It's on Netflix now. Check it out.
Check it out. I saw one other thing, Ben. Previous, as I just learned from that list I mentioned, a previous Fright Fest movie. I watched The Lazarus Effect. Have you seen this? You heard about this?
I don't know, now you mention
I
it.
mean, funnily enough, as you mentioned, Creep as well. It features Mark Duplass of the other Creep fame as one of
Oh yeah.
but like an absolutely stacked,
Ah yeah.
absolutely stacked cast. So directed by David Gelb, who also brought us a Stan Lee documentary. Like he's mostly done, looks like he's done quite a fair few documentaries. Very little else I recognize in the way of feature films. But Mark Duplass, Olivia Wilde, Donald Glover, Evan Peters.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah, like a big Ray Wise as in a small part as well.
Mm.
Like quite a stacked cast.
Yeah, I don't know if I've heard of
It's
this, you
about
know.
it's a group of scientists at a college that are experimenting with a serum that can safely restore creatures from death. Um,
Okay.
and then, as in all these things, something
Like the
goes a bit
Lazarus
wrong.
Pit.
A bit like the Lazarus Pit, but
Interesting.
unlike the Lazarus Pit, unfortunately, there are some negative side effects ultimately. Um,
Oh bloody hell.
and when their funding is at risk, as is the case, or should we just do a really dangerous version of this experiment where we try it on a person, and with deadly results?
With
It's
deadly results. I'm fast tracking this experiment to human trials immediately, said Seth Brundle. Bloody
yeah,
hell.
yeah, it's the board all over again. Like a company's bought them out and they're going to ruin it. Um,
Ah, every
it's a
time.
Blumhouse produced film.
Okay.
It has some of those elements. For me, it was a really strong premise and a really, really strong cast.
Hmm.
Um, Olivia Munn had play, she's a person of faith, and then when she comes back to life, there is some conflict there and some things going on with it. Unfortunately, I would say it runs pretty tight. I think it's like a tight 85 minutes.
Mm.
Um, I would have liked actually a little bit more time to explore these things. As it gets towards the end, it kind of accelerates to, what creative deaths can we do? And I felt like it became a little shallow and it lost some of its potential there. Um,
Okay.
because I think rather than have something that was scary and then abruptly over, I would have gone like classic Twilight Zone with this one. I'd have had maybe a less overblown ending, maybe a little bit more understated, and just a real sad ending rather
Hmm.
than
Okay.
what we got. But you
Yeah.
know, the end result makes it maybe a little bit more predictable, a little bit more forgettable as a result. But it's not without
Mm.
its merits. It's certainly worth if it's if
Wow.
it's on and there's nothing better for you to be looking at. I wouldn't tell you to turn away.
Don't turn away. Okay. So the film of the week, which is a bloody brand new one again. Bloody brand new one again. Can you
Back to the
believe it?
cinemas again, just as we were sick of them.
I know exactly. To be fair, I think I'd given myself a few days that it was I was okay going back to the cinema. I wasn't sick of them.
Yeah. Finished work and just
'Cause
closed your eyes immediately
because I
afterward.
did say while we were in London, I was like, oh, I wouldn't mind trying to catch Cuckoo somewhere, but I never got round to it. I think I even said, oh, I want to go and watch Alien Romulus in IMAX. No, zero
No
chance of that
more.
happening. Okay, so Cuckoo is a 2024 horror film written and directed by Tilman Singer, starring Hunter Schafer, Jan Bluthardt, Marton Csokas, Jessica Henwick, and Dan Stevens. Um, the film follows a teenager, Schaefer, who moves to the German Alps to live with her father, Soskas, but become. I start that again. It's ridiculous. The film follows a teenager who moves to the German Alps to live with her father, but becomes disturbed by strange occurrences as her father's boss embroils her in a sinister plot. First of all, Hunter Schafer, teenager. I was like, never, not in a million years. 25 years old she is. So I'm like, okay, is this the Grease rule of this is the Grease rule of 25? Yeah, she can count as a teenager. I think they say like she's nearly 18 at some point, don't they?
Yeah, he said you're nearly 18 years old at some point when her dad's laying into her, as he often does in this film.
Laying into her, beating her up. No, you don't do that.
No,
Although
verbally.
she does
Slagging her off.
take a serious beating more than once. Her physical, I mean, she gets hurt tons in this film, doesn't she? Okay, so 6.4 on IMDb, 76% on audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, 62% critic score, 3.1 on Letterboxd. And I got some choice reviews for you. Cinema Joe says a movie that throws its ideas against the wall to see what sticks. Some of it does, some of it doesn't. Fortunately, it features a zany Dan Stevens and a butterfly knife wielding Hunter Schafer, so I never had a bad time. 3.5 stars. Someone here just called Coffee says borderline incoherent, but a total blast. Trashy high concept Euro horror that takes little to no time to explain itself. 3 stars. Evasive says if you think a 5'7" blonde woman in a trench coat screeching at you is scary, you've never worked in retail. 3 stars. And Ella Kemp says, borderline nonsensical, yet also star making for Hunter Schafer. Beautiful multitudes to contain. 2 stars. I feel like Hunter Schafer is already somewhat of a star. She's in what's that series called? Euphoria. And this is how I think. Oh, they're actually a star. She's in the next project of Hideo Kojima. She's involved.
There you
So
go.
as soon as that happens, I'm like, I think she's in the Hunger Games as well, and Kinds of Kindness, which is the new movie from Yorgos Lanthimos, um, who directed Poor Things. So yeah, looking forward to seeing her in more. But this is probably like a good vehicle for her to like have like a big movie where she's like the main star in it, I guess. Tilman Singer as well directed a movie called Luz, Luz, which I've heard a lot about, but I haven't actually seen. But it's a German supernatural horror film. I think it's on Shudder currently. Uh, I won't say anything else because I think I'm just reading stuff. It looks like a bit of a spoiler, but yeah, that was his last film in 2018. But Cuckoo, I had only really seen the trailer and I was very intrigued. I kind of thought that looks very, very weird. And it didn't give away enough for me to go, oh, showing everything in the trailer. It was a very good trailer. But yeah, did you know much about this going into it?
Very similar to you, Ben. I'd seen the trailer. I saw it had looked like some really tense moments. I think we see the bike chase scene, which we don't get the
Yeah.
context for that. So yeah, just it looked like a very stylish movie with some good scares in it. So I went in keen to see. I would say first reactions in ultimate delivery, seeing everything in order. I would say the scares maybe aren't as unrelenting as I think the trailer is cut together to indicate. I think once you're in the flow of it, they're spaced
Hmm.
out adequately that it doesn't feel quite as intense an experience as the trailer indicated I might be in for. But there's still some interesting things to be had.
Yeah. And that particular scare you said about the bike scare, I think that's really well done. This kind of like constant someone's riding a bike and then we can just see a shadow of someone like behind them trying to grab them. That's pretty good. Um, I feel like it's another, as I mentioned with Dead Male, it's another very oddball, like when like films like It Follows take place in out of time where you're like, I don't know when it's set. It's kind of got this weird like technology going on with it. Even though people have got mobile phones in Cuckoo, I was a bit like, you could have adjusted one or two things and said, this is set in the 80s, this is set in the 90s, this is set in the 70s,
Yeah,
it felt like one of those kind of like weird out of time, like really pocket secular films. Is that the right word? Andy Thesaurus Turner.
and that would be sort of non-religious related. I know what you mean though. It
Sectioned off.
it is like sort of pocket dimension in time where there are
Yeah.
inconsistencies because I would say we do see a little bit of sort of mobile phone technology, right, at certain points, but that feels like it's
Hmm.
sort of mid to late 90s mobile phones, but in the same period there is someone with like an analog tape answer phone
Yeah, that's right.
as
Analog
well.
tape.
So
There's landlines as well. Um, and again, I know we keep mentioning films like Black Mirror, but it feels like it could potentially sit in the world of Black Mirror as like a setup, but maybe like the execution is something a little bit more different. In terms of like the directions it goes in. I feel like it's one of those films again where you're a bit like, I not entirely sure I understand every element of it. Walking away from it, you kind of probably need to look into some
mhm.
theories about what it actually means, what's been going on. I know we do get some exposition dumps towards the end, but I still feel like you can take from them what you want, whether that person is actually telling the truth or they're trying to just justify certain behaviors and actions that they've taken. Um, so yeah, a very weird film. And again, just like Dead Male, if you try to describe it, well, what's this Cuckoo about then? You like almost have to get into the nitty-gritty to describe it. Well, there's a girl whose mum's died and she's gone to live with her dad and and stepmother and mute half sister in a resort town in the Bavarian Alps. And you go,
Yeah. And they're living
oh
there
yeah,
because your mom and dad, at the time that your former partner has died, you've just taken on a job to build a new resort.
yeah. Yeah, very weird. And again, like Dan Stevens, an actor who I guess around about the time of The Guest, I liked the film The Guest, but I still wasn't sure about him. I was a bit like, I ain't sure about this guy. I feel like this guy is just a guy who should be in like EastEnders or something. Maybe he was at some point. But now, especially like after this year, with things like Abigail and even like um Godzilla X Kong to a degree,
Come on,
I'm
Ben.
like
The Eurovision one.
the Eurovision one. Oh yeah, 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 of course. But now I'm like, I watch him in anything. I'll watch him in anything. I'm at that point. He has really won me round. And I know he was in great things like Legion and the movie Apostle that we Apostle?
Apostle, you did an episode on that,
Apostle.
right? You and Luke.
Yeah, did an episode on that. I'm 100% sold now with Dan Stevens. I'm like, he is a great like character actor. He's great to kind of have as someone you're not quite sure about. Not necessarily a villain, but someone you're like, oh, ain't so sure about this
I tell you what, to
this
make him
guy.
extra, like even like an enigmatic science name, Herr Koenig.
Oh
That's
yeah, exactly. And what's good about that is that we get an extended sequence where they're trying to pronounce that name as well. So that makes it easier for us. Um yeah, so obviously I guess I've kind of already mentioned the cast. It's it starts off with a bit of so we got a cold open at the start. There is a an argument happening. There's like we kind of see the shadows of like this couple arguing in German. I think in German
Mhm.
they're arguing, and a girl is in bed and she looks like she's convulsing in some way, and then she gets up, goes outside the house, listens for some sort of screeching sound in the nearby woods in the middle of the night, begins to seizure even more, and then sprints off into the forest like a T-1000.
Mhm. Infinite run glitch.
The infinite run glitch. We discussed the infinite run glitch even more so in London, didn't we? We're like, the infinite run glitch is good, but it's like infinite stamina glitch, but it does just hit a brick wall. You'll literally go, I've got infinite stamina, I'm gonna run. Start running, and then suddenly bang. Oh, under the influence of alcohol, we mean.
Yeah, yeah. Or if a strange screeching noise has driven you to it in the woods.
Yeah, so there's lots of stuff in this. We get a lot of close-ups of like ears twitching and like, is it throats? Like navel,
Yeah,
not
like
navel. What bit? Yeah, like that sort of thing, which is weird. It is very off-putting in a way. It's very like otherworldly. I think that's what we're supposed to believe.
yeah,
And there's not tons in the way of body horror, but I think those bits, I think if you're susceptible to that in a way, it does kind of make you cringe
just sort
a
of
little bit.
weird body ticks that people can sometimes do. Like, if you've
Yeah.
got an uncle who can pretend to make his thumb come off, or like there's a kid in your class that can stretch their fingers all the way back.
There's a guy who can fold his tongue into like 9 different shapes. That guy,
Yeah.
very popular. Um, yeah, like close-ups like goose pimples as well. Like there's just it's some really good like cinematography, I think, which kind of almost allows you to understand sometimes moments that maybe are a bit difficult to work out what's exactly happening, especially when we get like these odd little mini time loops as well, right?
Yeah, there's happens like 3 or 4 times in the movie, right? Where we have just a little bit repeat. And even though tiny little things maybe slightly change, it's like,
Slightly change. It's
yeah,
like the
it,
person in that time loop becomes aware that they're in that time loop. Oh, this is weird. I've just experienced this. I'm going to change something in this moment. And yeah, obviously we will get into into the reasons of that as well. But yeah, in terms of establishing this story, so it's Gretchen, who is a teenager, played by Hunter Schafer, and she's moving with after the death of her mother, moving in with her dad and stepmother and half sister in this resort town in the Bavarian Alps, and she's in like the truck with the movers as well. I think one of them offers her a cigarette. I think it's established quite early on that she's a bit of a rebel. You know, she plays bass in a band, smoking a
always
cigarettes.
got a bloody headphones on, never listening.
Always got her bloody efforts on, never listening, riding a bike. I don't know what that would be. Edgy in any way. I don't know. Caring about the environment, climate change. Edgy Gen Z. You know, nothing wrong with
It's
that, of course.
um yeah, like we get going pretty quickly, right? We get there, we meet Herr Koenig, who offers Gretchen a job because he seems very concerned with how they're doing, and he's quite. I think it's the delivery, the performance puts you on edge quite early because he's immediately
Yeah.
quite
So I think
Even when he's being nice.
one thing that's clear from the get-go is that he wasn't necessarily expecting her to be there. Obviously, there's this tragedy that's happened where her mum's died, and now she's ended up living with her dad, and they're coming to these Alps unexpectedly. And even though Herr Koenig, you've said it better than me, is nice and polite and clearly like happy to see her, there's something on the undercurrent where you can see that he didn't expect perhaps her to be here. Not in this particular moment. He's obviously aware of it, but it kind of feels like it's maybe thrown some potential plans for something into disrepute.
Yeah, but he kind of
Yeah.
says, "You want a job? I'll get you a job if you want."
Gives a job. Do you want a job? And then her dad's a bit like, nah, she ain't interested. She ain't want that. And Gretchen says, yeah, I'll take it. Why not? Um, Again, there's some interesting. We explore Gretchen's grief at losing her mother quite a lot. She's phoning up the answer phone at her old house to hear her mum's voice, but also to like leave messages essentially, where she's talking to her like a diary, isn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Talking to her
Good
like
way
a
of delivering
diary.
like her inner thoughts, I guess, as part of the film.
Yeah, because it almost works as a we kind of hear it as a voiceover in a way, almost like a narration to certain things, and it establishes her thoughts. So I guess, like in terms of her dialogue, she doesn't say loads until things kick off. She's quite quiet, quite reserved. She's kind of doesn't really want to be there. Even like the little sister, who's just a little kid, like sister's like what 8 or 9. She's kind of a bit mean to the sister, or like says, "I don't really care." She says, "Oh, she's a mute, is annoying," or something like that.
She's always
Um,
not talking, well annoying.
she's always not. Yeah, she's always shut. Bloody say something, will you? God, I
You know,
like it.
Michael Buddy Myers, not saying anything.
Um, and again, I like it when the scenes change. It doesn't drop you in at the start of a scene like, here's Gretchen on her first day. We kind of drop into the next bit, and it's like the end of her first day. I kind of like that. This kind of like it doesn't really need to hold our hands in terms of the story. It really does drop us in at these moments and expect us to kind of like work out what's going on. She's being shown how to work the desk at this. I don't know. Were you getting like the Shining vibes a little bit with this weird kind of
Yeah, it is
like?
kind of a weird hotel, and like it's kind of made even more prominent because there are some guests that act quite strange. Like there's a woman just vomiting in the reception.
You say act strange, but literally just throwing up. Literally just walking in and going, all right, how's it going? Chucking up. And then, so it's Beatrix, I think, who is showing Gretchen how to work the desk. She says, oh, that happens sometimes. And I was like, what?
People always
You
really
don't,
throwing up.
I was thinking, is it like like have the air, like how thin the air is, maybe up there? I don't know, because they're in, I don't know how high above sea level they are. I was thinking it was going to be explained in that way, but no, it's linked to something else, of course. Um,
Yeah.
And then, so there's a little bit of back and forth here where Gretchen's like, I'm fine to work late, but Herr Koenig, am I saying it right? I'm not
Yeah.
delivering it
That
as well as
sounds
you.
perfect.
Herr Koenig, he's like, you can't work late because it's dark around here, it's dodgy, you can't go home. Gretchen's like, I got my bike. Beatrix is like, I thought we were going to split the late shifts. There's a little bit of back and forth like that, and I think Gretchen and Beatrix make a little agreement where they're
On the
like,
side that even though Heck Koenig is like, oh no, she's not going to do the late shift because you've got a car, she hasn't, so
mm,
you're copping and mate. But
you've
she
got a
makes an
life too.
agreement that she will just cover a late shift so she can go out with a
Yeah,
boyfriend.
which she does. And does she meet the French woman yet, or is that not quite yet? I think
Yeah, it
she.
is before that one where the French woman arrives and
That's right. That's right.
has a little flirt with her and says, oh, "Well, see ya," and goes off and said, "Look, I'm not dealing with that. So
Yeah.
I'm off."
Yeah. Oh, I think she goes off after one of the people being sick, doesn't she?
Yeah,
And
she sees her being sick, so I'll leave you to deal with that sick then. I ain't gonna get that
yeah.
pink sawdust out. You can do that.
Gretchen decides to ride her bike home. Um, and yeah, this is good. We get some great shots here, like at nighttime. Like it feels it's deserted everywhere. There's not really many people, but we see it. There's a great shot of somebody coming out of the lovers. It's like the pink cabin, isn't it? It's called the
Yeah,
lovers leap or
it's the
something like that.
it's like the lovers, like it's like because she, I think Gretchen even mentions that we do have special facilities for couples and newlyweds. So this is a
Yeah,
special like, honeymoon suite, the sexiest room.
the sexiest room. And then we see a shot of somebody like running out of there and like run in parallel to Gretchen, who's just got her music in, so she can't really hear. Very dangerous, of course, while you're riding your bike out and about. But yeah, here's the moment which we mentioned before, where we kind of see the street lights just reflecting on the ground as she's driving past them, and there's a great shot of suddenly this reaching, creepy shadow coming towards her. And I'm glad that Gretchen does what anyone else would do in that situation: just pedal harder, get
Yeah.
out of
See you
there,
later.
see you later.
Bomb along on your
Uh,
bike.
not look back and then just like, I don't know, look back and then look back the other way and like crash into a lamppost or something. I'm glad that didn't happen. Exactly what should happen happened. She drives to like, so there's a hospital as well, which Herr Koenig says he like paid for some funding for as well.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
what was going on? Oh yeah, we did meet a character earlier who was like one of the doctors there as well. Who kind of introduced herself to the family. Um, but yeah, so Gretchen tries to get into the hospital. The person on the intercom says, "Wait up, will you? I'll be there in a minute." And then this creepy hooded woman, you can only describe as like she's got like almost Art the Clown sunglasses in
Yeah.
Art the Clown. She's kind of dressed. How would you describe her? Really, she's got like a trench coat on.
Yeah, she's got a trench coat and like a bonnet. She looks like someone who is dressed as a spy.
Yeah. Just like a spy or like a 1950s Hollywood, someone who's like trying not to be spotted while out and about, maybe.
Yeah.
We don't get too many close-ups, but we can already tell something's not quite right because she's not acting correctly. She's a bit shrieky, and
And wears
her face
sunglasses at night time.
sunglasses at night time. Her face looks a bit washed out. Gretchen manages to get through the door, but then she runs headfirst into the glass because I guess she just assumes there's only one door, but no, there are two. Runs headfirst into the glass, and then she gets a encounter with this hooded woman who like shrieks at her, reaching towards her. But then the person who works at the hospital appears, and the hooded woman is gone,
It's gone
vanished,
into the
vanished
night.
into night.
Um, and as with all things, when someone happens, tell you what, those police in lots of the Fright Fest movies, or them police, they dust stuff under
Oh
the
God,
carpet, don't they?
yeah.
Just cannot be bothered.
Constantly, wasn't it? Yeah, that was all that was happening. And the police in this instance pretty much dismiss it as a prank. Um, Herr Koenig gets involved as well, I think, sort of just saying, obviously he's annoyed about Beatrix
Staying
and
late, but he is like concerned, but he is like a little bit annoyed that she didn't just
mm,
because when he finds out that she's there late, he goes, right, lock the door, I'm gonna come and give you a lift home. But she just
yeah.
gets on a bike and goes before that.
I think it's obvious from the get-go that yeah, they're trying to portray Gretchen as this kind of rebel in a way, but I think she just like she marches to the beat of her own drum. She just does whatever she wants in the particular moment. Oh,
And that's why, the next day, and after she's got out of hospital, she's listening to her music, playing a rebellious song. She's playing Green Day's Minority, for example. And she
yeah,
sees her half sister kind of freaking out, having some kind of seizure, but she
yeah.
can't hear because she's got headphones on. This is where we get the first time loop, right?
Yeah, so it's like she sees her sister, takes off the headphones, puts the bass down, and then that happens more than once while her
Yeah.
sister's like having this weird sort of seizure, and we get some
And after the
close-ups of her
third or
ears
fourth
twitching.
time, like she thumps her. Not Gretchen, her little sister thumps her across the room, right?
Yeah, sort of gives her a sort of open-handed uppercut type thing, and like Gretchen's got like a mark on her face. And I think when dad and stepmom come in, they are both a bit like, "What the hell's going on here?" And they don't say, but I think they feel like quite accusatory towards Gretchen in this moment, don't they?
Yeah. Standard thing,
Mm.
right? If you've got like a sister who is half your size and there's big al- altercation, but hell, these for me to say. Um, you would assume that it was the larger of your children that was an aggressor rather than the fact that a tiny little
Yeah,
girl has just thumped you across the room.
exactly. Yeah. Um, Gretchen goes back. So in terms of the injuries that Gretchen suffers just ramp up, don't they? They get worse and worse. She starts off with like a little graze on her head.
She's got a
This
little
is what she
bandage
just
around her
said.
head at the minute,
Little bandage around her head. I think she's actually only got a patch on her head at this
like
moment, hasn't
Mr.
she?
Bump.
Like Mr. Bump. Um, so when she's working in the resort the next day, I guess, A man named Henry, who is a police detective, shows his ID. He basically says, "I want to talk to you about what happened. This hooded woman chasing after you.
She's a bloody
Uh,
murderer.
she's a bloody murderer." Did you know? Did this Henry remind you of anybody?
Um, the actor or just the character of Henry?
The actor. As soon as I saw him, I thought he looks like Billy Lawrence Fox. He does, and I couldn't,
No.
and I couldn't forget it ever since. So very unfortunate. I feel like if he was playing a bad guy of any sorts, I guess he was playing like a conflicted character in a
Yeah.
way, either one way or another. But he's playing a bad guy. He'd be very easy to hate with face that looked like Lawrence Fox. But no. Um. So yeah, he says, come and chat to me when you get a free moment. Come and chat
I
to
don't know.
me."
She's like, I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to this lovely French lady
French
behind you in
woman.
the queue.
Yeah.
I want to
And
go
that
and
is
punch a
when
dart and cop off with her round the
she
corner.
goes and punches a dart and cops off of her. And then pretty much goes, right, now we've punched the dart and copped off together. This is the French woman, not the police detective.
Should we just
I
run
think,
away?
can we just run away? Do you want to come run away with me to Paris? It's quality in Paris. And she goes, yeah, you know what? All I need is my bass guitar and I'm ready to go.
to
I
rob some
just
money from this hotel?
rob some money from the hotel and then she's ready to go. So she takes all the money out of the cash register and then
I mean,
they're dry.
surprised that she invited her for that. Can you imagine, Ben, in this day and age? And I know that I'm not sure whether it is just the trend or whether legislation about smoking in movies has backed off a little bit. But I feel the tobacco industry is pumping a lot into films at the minute because so
Oh
many
hell
films I'm
yeah.
seeing at the moment have got smoky, smoky cigarettes in them. And and like this one,
Yep.
yeah, Ben, I'm not saying that, you experience this a lot in your life, but if you were copping off with someone in some trees around the hotel that they worked at and they were holding a cigarette that close to your face,
Yeah.
would you not find it off-putting?
Burn your eyelashes off.
Yeah.
Plus they taste all smoky as well, don't they?
Yeah,
We've
not a
all
nice way like Lovely Barbecue does.
I mean that would be weird.
Like disgusting, rancid coffin nails in your
You can
gob.
si you can someone can be as incredibly attractive, and as soon as you start playing tonsil hockey with them, and you can taste the old cigarettes, it can be a little bit off-putting, can't it?
Yeah, oh, lovely. The taste of ash. Thanks so much.
The taste of ash, the taste of ass, more like. You know what I did?
Yeah.
But while they're driving and punching darts, and driving, I don't think they're driving erratically, but there's always that moment in films like this where the person driving looks at the person in the passenger seat for like at least 10 seconds. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that is insane.
And they have
But yeah,
another one of those horrible time loops. That'd be the worst one.
yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Because you know what turn was coming up. It's
You
not like
think to yourself, oh God,
Colin McRae where the
yeah,
turn comes up.
yeah, if she's not there going, medium right, maybe. Long, very long, easy medium right.
Long, easy, medium right. Cheers, mate. Um,
Yeah, if he was there, he'd be fine. But she's not a professional rally navigator.
no,
She's just a smoking woman. Um,
exactly.
and imagine
And
if
it's hooded woman. Yeah, sorry, go on.
if I found myself in a time loop when I was in a car, I would have assumed I'm in a terribly harrowing, like I'm someone's relative who's died in a car crash and they're watching my video over and over again.
Oh God.
Like that little girl opening a giraffe and saying thank you, mommy, in a horrible, sad advert from the late 90s.
Oh God. I mean, that is a deep cut, and a deep cut I'm not fully aware of either. So
I'll
anybody
send it to
listening,
you.
please do. I can't wait for that.
Go for a
Um,
sad video about someone whose daughter has perished.
I'll forget as well by the mornings when you send it to me. I'm like, Andy, you all right? Do you need an intervention? Um, but while they're driving, suddenly, I'm assuming it's hooded woman. We only see her for a second, but it looks like
Yeah, it
hooded
is, I believe.
hooded woman in the middle of the road. They drive off. They crash. The car flips, and while they're there, the hooded woman comes reaching horribly into the car, trying to get at Gretchen, and she's screaming and crying. And then she wakes up, right? Wakes up the
Yeah,
next
wakes
day.
her back in the hospital. More injuries. Absolutely battered. Now she has a big Mr. Bump bandage on her head.
Mr. Big Mr. Bump bandage on her head, and now an arm in like not
Like a
even a
robot
cast,
sling.
like a like a robot sling. Yeah, It's horrific. So she's really been through the mill. Obviously everybody's worried. Dan Stevens, Herr Koenig, he's like, I'm
Says
angry. You've definitely lost your job. I'm angry that you robbed me, but I'm glad you're alive, essentially. And the dad is angry. And at this point as well, we should probably mention the half sister who had a seizure earlier is in hospital, and they're like doing tests on her and trying to work out like what if she's got like epilepsy or something like
yeah, so
that.
they're trying to experiment to see. They're trying to learn what's going on with the sister because she's like say she's hospitalized. She's not well
Mm.
either, and it seems the parents are more focused on that, right? It's like, well, your sister's got epilepsy. All you've done is been in a car crash. It's vanilla.
That's pretty vanilla, mate. Uh, yeah, and I think around about this point as well, like she doesn't want her. She wants her dad to stay in the bed next to her. She doesn't want her dad to like just leave because she's like scary around here at night. I think she's getting to the point now. She's seen this person a couple of times. She's unclear of like where everybody sits. So she's very very upset and very scared, as you would be. You
And
would
it
be,
does
wouldn't you?
drive her to have another conversation with Henry, who the policeman, who invites her like you would any teenager that you meet, invite them along to a stakeout.
Yeah. So basically, the stakeout is in like a bungalow opposite that lovers
The lovers bungalow.
the
So
lovers
Gretchen's having
bungalow.
none of it. Like they've been there for 10 minutes and she's like, it's boring. I want to go.
Yes, she is. But does anything bloody happen on these stakeouts? Because this is dead boring. I'm
Even
fuming.
though, like, as she is saying that, there is uh, a couple in there. Like, you are literally watching the people you're staking out, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Um, so the couple are Beatrix and the police officer from earlier. They're getting involved in a lovely little secret relationship as not really co-workers, but I guess kind of. We're calling her Trixie, actually. I think Trixie is like her nickname. Um, and
But
they're
he's
gonna
having
get it.
none of it.
He's having
And
none of
well,
it. He's
she's
absolutely not.
thinking they're getting on. So she's been. Back up. She's been preparing for this evening, and when he walks in, she's like, "Hello, just standing here naked in the bathroom. You impressed?" And he goes, "Bloody hell, you doing it? We can't possibly stay here. Get out! Get the fuck out of
Yeah.
here!"
And she says something along the lines of, "I clean this fuck pad every week. Don't think it matters." Like she's put out the flower petals and everything. It's a lovely romantic moment. It's not a naughty rendezvous. Well, it is a bit, but it's got a bit of romance attached to it. But no, he's not interested, and he's like, let's clear all this stuff up. And then while that happens, he's getting stuck in like a weird sort of time loop. So basically, the time loop and the kind of like seizure stuff happens when there's like a shrieking in the distance.
Mhm.
There's some sort of weird reverberating shriek that you can
Someone
hear.
does a 90s impression of there being some heavy bass in a car. So people listen to some EDM and just did like a
Yeah, yeah, it's a bit like that.
and someone goes, "Oh
Yeah.
no, feeling all
So
funny and time looped."
I'm all funny in time. Henry, the police guy, not the police officer, but police detective, he explains that like the hooded woman's responsible for at least one murder. Um, the strange shrieking disorientated the victim's husband, and the victim choked to death on her own vomit. And they believe one of the vomiting women earlier may be connected. So that's like a sign that this thing that's making the weird shrieking is nearby. Um, And so essentially, what happens is the creepy hooded woman who looks a bit like the nun, especially in the background of your picture there. She's a bit
Yeah,
nun-like, got a bit
big
like the
Valak
nun going
energy.
on. Big Valak energy. Perhaps I could have done without the weird kind of CGI mouth. I feel like it would have been just as scary without that. I feel like that was maybe one bit that was took me out of it a little bit, made it look a bit generic.
I tell you what, the unconscious tricks he could have done without Ben.
Go on.
This horrible hooded, sort of babushka wearing lady coming and trying to impregnate her with this meniscus,
So
this
I think that's
ooze on her
we're
hands.
assuming we're assuming at this stage that that's what she's trying to do. She's like getting all this horrible slime on her hands, and then she's trying to implant her with it, but she never gets around to it,
Yeah,
does she? She
she's
gets,
coming out of like Nickelodeon trying to sell us some gack. She's like, right,
oh Jesus Christ, what a horrible sentence.
get a bit of this gunge up here. They're like, oh no,
Oh,
thanks.
Dave Benson Phillips, who we've mentioned more than once on this podcast before. Dave Benson Phillips he'd love that. He'd be all over it. Because I reckon deep down he loves the gunge.
Maybe he's one of these. Maybe he is one of these creatures by birth.
Yeah. Because he's like this all the time. Oh no, don't gunge me. No, please don't gunge
Well,
me.
he's
He
always
loves it,
gunging
really.
people, isn't he? He pulls those levers. He does it under the guise of like a kid getting their own back on a teacher for giving them
Yeah, that's true.
homework. Guess what, Dave Benson Phillips? It's a teacher's job to give him homework, and it's in your own fucking interest. All right?
It's always like really no. I'm gonna get my own back on my dad for always hogging the Nintendo. Do me a
But, you know,
favor.
as an adult, maybe that's acceptable. It's like, but sometimes it's like, I'm going to get my own back on like my nan for making me eat
Oh
vegetables.
God.
Well,
My nan makes me eat broccoli because she wants me to grow big and strong. And I say, fuck you, nan. Get in the gunge, you bitch.
yeah, my dad really pressures me to train hard at sports.
Yeah, that's slightly different though, you know.
Yeah,
Pushy
so
parents.
a bit like Dave Benson Phillips, the hooded woman is trying to gunge Trixie.
She's trying to gunge you good and proper, yeah. But she gets
Not to
interrupted.
get her own back on her though, to
No,
do something else.
the opposite of that. Whatever the opposite of that is. But it's Gretchen and the police officer walk in on it, isn't it? Do they both walk in on it? And
Yeah, they
like,
walk
oh
in on
yeah,
him
the police officer like shoots at her.
with like a
And
big. It looks like his gun's in a McDonald's bag.
so I think what he's trying to do is like make a silencer. So as far as I can tell, like that gun is illegal because I think later on Herr Koenig says with an illegal firearm. No, no. So I think he's got a gun that's illegal. So he's trying to shoot it with a silencer, and it's
In a
just a
bag of
pillow,
flour.
and it's like a pillowcase, but it like lights on fire as well. That's kind of cool. That's a nice little detail, I think, because I think, you know, Hollywood's probably made us believe that if you just stick a pillowcase on the end, you'll be fine. But no, lights on fire and makes a mess as well. Um, so the hooded woman escapes, runs away. The next day is when Gretchen at home pretty much just like confronts everybody, just says like, "You're all bloody weird. Something weird's going on." And then Herr Koenig says something along the lines of, "Your family is meant to be here," or something like that. And she goes,
Yeah.
"That's a weird way to put it."
Yeah, I love how she puts things. That's a pretty really weird way to
Yeah.
say it.
Like in any other film, someone might just let that land and go, "Well, I suppose so." But for
But
some reason in this,
Herr
it's like,
Koenig has got the perfect way to get him off the hook for saying something a bit weird, though. He goes, "Oh, by the way, I bought you a post up. There's a box from your
"Oh
house. It's for you."
yeah."
She's like, "What?"
Forgot to mention as well, Herr Koenig. He does a very creepy little flute playing in all the quiet moments. It seems like he's communicating with something out there in the woods around the resort.
Yeah. Ocarina of Time style. He goes and plays a little tune in the woods.
Ocarina of Time. Warp to graveyard. Cheers. Uh, a bit like David in Alien Covenant as well. You do the thing. I'll do the fingering. And you do the blowing. Thanks, David.
Either that, or he's got a um, little Willy Wonka thing to summon the Oompa
I love that.
Plays
A
his
kid
little
is
penny
dead. A
whistle.
kid is dead. Now let's sing a song. A kid has died in a terrible way. Now let's sing a song.
Except he seems to be in some form of communication with these
Yeah.
horrible screechy creatures, but we'll find out more about that in a minute. Right now, he doesn't play his flute. He just says, "Oh, there's a box here. Probably about probably from your mom's house that your dad has sold without telling you." Ooh, goes.
Oh yeah. So that bombshell gets dropped on Gretchen, and she, like anyone who's A, mourning the loss of her mum, but also like keen to get back to that house, get a flight back to America and live in that house because it's the family home. She obviously feels a huge connection to it. And when she finds out her dad sold it without even telling her or like asking her permission, I guess, she just gives him a straight, she gives him a straight, um, Kill Bill bride punch straight to the face, like when she's trying to get out of the coffin. Just like literally like a 2-inch punch.
An inch
Bang!
length.
Yeah. Smashes his face in, and then the whole box of her mum's stuff gets upended and goes everywhere, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. She goes to her room. She's listening to her mum's old voicemails, basically gets to listen to all of the recordings she's been sending, and then she finds a voicemail from Alma, who is the sister, using text to speech because she's mute. Remember that, asking Gretchen's mother to come visit. I mean, it's nice, isn't it? She says something like, "I can hear her leaving messages for you. I think you should come and visit because she misses you." It is a very nice,
Yeah,
heartfelt
she's nice,
moment.
and like she obviously loves it. It's hard for them to communicate. I think Gretchen does speak to Alma via sign language, and they communicate that way. But it's
Yeah,
nice, and it shows that because she's
I like.
not got much agency as the film goes on, right? Usually she's kind of just there, but it shows that she has things that is going on as well, and she's
Yeah, I
just
think
care about her sister.
it's quite nice because their relationship develops quite nicely. It's sort of set up initially as like she got no time for it, got no patience, and just a couple of like these little moments which just bring them closer and closer and closer, so that when certain things happen in the final act, we believe that this person cares about her sister. It's done really well.
Yeah.
So a little bit later, I think Gretchen comes out of her room after being upset for a while, um, and her family are all gone, but Herr Koenig is still there, and he says, basically, your outburst caused Alma to have another seizure, a really bad one actually, and they've taken her to the hospital. I basically want you out of the picture, so I'm going to take you to the nearest train station. But first, drive to my house, and I got some dosh lying about, and I give you the money, and you just take the money, go to the nearest train station, and get out of here. You're fucking everything up.
Yeah.
Um, and we're, I guess at this point we're supposed to believe what she's fucking up is the fact that Herr Koenig has hired her dad and stepmom to make this new resort, and she's kind of like getting in the way of that process.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so he takes her to his house, which is kind of like a very modern looking, kind of like, yeah, like it's like the boss house, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is the final boss house, where you go as Max Payne at the end of the thing. You know, right?
Yeah.
I've killed all the all the others. Now I'm here to confront the boss.
The big boss. And
It
he
was
just
obvious it was a bloody trap the whole while.
he lays it
But
on the line, doesn't he? He basically goes, Henry, I tell you what, there's two sides to every story. Henry, he's a disgraced police officer, actually.
yeah, disgraced police officer. He's too close to a case, and he's been sticking his nose where it's not wanted. And they've got him at gunpoint. So essentially, Herr Koenig and the police officer who was in that relationship with Trixie, and another guy. There's another police officer in there. They're kind of like that's kind of his henchman, I guess.
Yeah,
Um,
there is lads, and he says that Henry is actually not a great policeman. He's a disgraced one, but then goes on to say something far worse. That oh yeah, the hooded woman, they are members of a not they don't say they're space aliens or mutants or anything. They just say they're from a near human but not human species that
yeah.
relies on being like cuckoos. But you know what a cuckoo is? Just a little cuckoo. A bit like how in a film from the 90s, someone would explain what an EMP is because we've lost our connection with nature, Ben.
Yeah.
Someone explains what a cuckoo is.
Yeah. So it relies on brood parasitism, which is basically like where cuckoos get other birds to raise its young. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, to look after their young for them until they're
I
ready
can't
to
be,
grow up.
I can't be asked to look after these kids, especially in the terrible twos. Horrible, stressful. Newborns, stressful, always waking up, can't sleep, crying all the time, teething,
No,
terrible
don't any
twos,
of it. I'm gonna wait till they're
terrible
18.
twos. Basically, wait till they're 18. I've got a 14-year-old currently, and yeah, I'm joking, of course, but still, could I have some money for this? Could I have some money for that? Oh God, I wish I just
But that's bloody
relied on
brood parasitism, isn't it? Yeah.
parasitism. I should have done that all along. I'm joking, of course. Um, so basically, the species females, apparently that's including Alma. Um, they basically this is where Eric Koenig does his whole big reveal and explains everything that's been happening. And the way of him like driving this home is he locks Gretchen in this room
Sprays her with
and
some pheromones, a little squirt from a little
spray
spritz bottle,
a little squirt of some pheromones, opens a door, goes in another room and watches on the
and
monitor,
plays his flute. And
plays his flute
then we
as
hear, "Ooh, oh, cuckoo,
here
cuckoo,
comes a cuckoo
doo-a-doo-doo."
coming to get you. I mean, to be fair, like I think it was good, but I feel like it could have gone one of other ways. Like, imagine if it was actually like a kind of weird bird humanoid thing. Do you know what I mean? It's
I,
almost like these are
yeah,
like
I
they're
agree with
almost
the
like
thing.
zombie. They're almost like zombie like, aren't they? Where they're just a
Yeah,
bit scary
I kind of
faced.
agree with one of the reviews that said it could have leaned into its like B movie status a bit harder. You
Yeah,
know what? Make them space aliens. Just go the full way. These are space
yeah.
aliens,
Because
and
you don't have to
Herr
explain it
Koenig
really.
is like in league with them.
Yeah, Erkonig, he had this kind of resort and maybe a space alien crash there, and he's kind of in league with them, helping them breed and maintain their species or something. I
Yeah,
know it's a bit. You almost get to a point where you're like, what is he gaining out of this?
yeah,
As the villain, like, because he's not. It seems more hassle than it's worth, doesn't it? Like this
yeah.
adolescent cuckoo. Um,
Comes
yeah, and
in, and the plan is that like Gretchen is incapacitated by the screams of the creature,
yeah, incapacitated
and
by the screams, and then you get inseminated using the slime. But Henry manages to fight his way away from the two.
he comes in like the Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, just like brandishing a pistol.
I'm gonna shoot anything that bloody moves in here. Um, yeah,
He's
and
at the end of
he
Max Payne, isn't he? He's just diving in.
bullet
He just
time.
bullet times through the door. It's like,
He shoots Dan Stevens in the shoulder, and then he pretty much just executes the adolescent cuckoo. And again, the adolescent cuckoo is just what seems like a girl who's a little bit like twitchy and weird. Like, I don't know. It was odd that it wasn't the hooded woman in this instance. I thought the hooded woman would have been like the only like adult cuckoo, mother cuckoo, and the rest were kind of like kids. And we do get some more exposition where Erkonig basically says the reason the hooded woman is after Gretchen is because Gretchen is like fighting for resources with the young, which is of course revealed to be Alma as well, right? We get that
yeah,
reveal as well.
yeah.
Um, so after that happens and Henry kills the creature, Henry and Gretchen race to the hospital, and I think they're trying to basically rescue Alma, aren't they, at this stage? Konig's staff, one of the doctors from earlier as well, they're doing a big test essentially, reuniting Alma with her true mother, who is the hooded woman. Um, and it's here where it just goes a bit mad, doesn't it? Because we feel like Henry and Gretchen are kind of in cahoots, but then Henry's
He basically goes,
obviously,
"I'm going to kill this kid."
I'm going
Obviously,
to kill this kid. And Gretchen's like, no, you're not going to do that. That's my sister. Um, and he's like, yeah, but she's like Cuckoo Kid. And Gretchen's like, don't give a shit, actually. I'm going to stab you. Stabs Emery. And to be fair, if Gretchen Gretchen takes a pasting throughout this film, Henry in the final third of this film gets absolutely battered. He gets
battered.
stabbed multiple times, and you think dead, but no, he's still alive. Um, so then Erkonig turns up.
Why does he kill his
He's still
lads?
alive. I think he's I don't know. They do this weird thing where they kind of say like I can't remember exactly what they say, but they say like the feather which I wrote my masterpiece with or something, and they all do the little signage. I don't know. It feels like he's like cutting off loose ends in a way, but I don't really get
He says he needs
why.
to complete the experiment, but surely he was going
But
to
then he
complete the
shuts the
experiment
door.
anyway. He
But
shuts the
then he
door and kills his own people.
shuts the door, kills his own people. That is when Gretchen goes in, grabs Alma. So she's essentially in a bed with like something on her head, and yeah.
Yeah.
As I said, there's lots of stuff in this film which is open to interpretation, I think. Um, the mother appears.
And it encroaches towards them, but like bit like those guns in Alien Romulus. Gretchen is able to kind of hold the mother cuckoo off by threatening to stab Alma with a knife. She holds the knife over
Yeah.
and she
So
keeps
what?
her distance.
So what happens here? Does Alma just see her holding a knife and
Alma
think,
sees
"Oh,
her
she
holding a
is
knife, and she gives her one of those classic Alma pushes. She shoves her.
Hadouken,
Yeah,
classic Hadouken push."
and like basically runs off, which means that then the cuckoo is able to then try and attack Gretchen, and they end up with like a Jurassic Park-esque
Yeah, I did
like
like
game of
this.
cat and mouse around in the library.
It made me realize that I feel like more films should have this because I feel like it's so effective. Like this kind of quiet moment of just like I'm hiding somewhere and kind of moving when the pursuer moves. Really, really tense.
But the pursuer is not ready for Henry to come and just shove all the bookshelves
Yeah.
over.
So Henry, who has been stabbed, isn't dead, comes in, pushes all the bookshelves over. Gretchen like takes cover, and then we get
They
like
both get
another.
buried, right?
They both get buried. Um, but then Gretchen uses a pair of headphones essentially and a Walkman to muffle the woman screeching, so she doesn't have to get like I don't know stuck in that time loop, creepy time loop.
And
And
and then as the cuckoo lady comes up and sort of screams at her, she goes, "Ha, have some of
have some
Chekhov's
stabs.
butterfly knife right in the throat, mate."
Yeah, we didn't mention that. There's a lot of butterfly knife action throughout this film. Gretchen having the knife, Gretchen flipping the knife about. So we're aware that she's armed at all times. But yeah, she stabs her in the neck, kills her. Then we see a moment where she like pulls her wig off and we see that she's like losing her hair. Again, it's weird, isn't it? Like I feel like if we pulled the wig off and she was like feathery, could have been interesting as well, right?
Yeah, interesting
Um,
angle.
just it was weird, but I feel like it could have gone a step
Harder.
further weird. It could have just lent into that ridiculous nature of it a little bit more. Um, so Gretchen manages to reunite with Alma, and there's like a standoff going on with Herr Koenig and Henry, where they're like they want to shoot each other, but they're not going to
But
because
they're
of
also not going to
Alma.
let them go. And like I think there's a bit with Heck on
Yeah,
like Dan Stevens continually has good lines in this one. He's like, "Where's your machine gun?" It's like,
yeah, he does say that. doesn't he? Where's your bloody machine gun? Ah, now I have a machine gun. Um, it's reminiscent of that, and they managed to get out, and then I'm
is
assuming
this the point as
Herkonig and
they
Henry just kill each other,
before
right?
they
Is that?
escape and they kill each other? At this point, Henry at some point in the hospital, I think this is when he turns and decides he's going to kill Alma. He
Yeah.
gives us the full lowdown on the fact that the cuckoos basically, a bit like a cuckoo putting their eggs in the nest, they inseminate people with an egg
Mm.
is then fertilized, which is why they are attracted to like the lovers' retreat for like the newlyweds, because
Yeah.
people who are there, it's implied because once again, Ben, the bloody peer pressure from dead people tradition. They understand that probably people are going to be doing some sex on their wedding night or when they're a romantic getaway. So I think perfect opportunity to time loop, whack an egg up someone, and
Yeah.
then
So
when
that's
they have sex,
essentially,
it'll be first because everyone wants to conceive on their wedding night.
yeah, exactly. And that's it kind of brings it back to Gretchen's dad and stepmom that they obviously when they were here last is when they conceived and essentially when the cuckoo egg was planted,
And that
aka
happened to
Alma,
them. Whereas
and now they're back
and
in
Henry
orders.
also reveals that he was the he was the father to another cuckoo,
Yeah,
um,
that's
which was
right.
implanted in his wife. Oh no, sorry, he wasn't the father. That was the intention that he would be the father to a cuckoo, but his wife was the person who passed out because she choked on her own vomit.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of all summed up. Again, I feel like some things are still open to interpretation. It's kind of like we've only really got two characters explaining what's actually happening. There could still be different details to this that we've overlooked. Um, but yeah, essentially the way that they leave is Alma manages to shriek. She covers Gretchen's ears, and I feel like there's loads of moments where Gretchen was supposed to be covering her ears, but then when they were filming this, they were like, "Oh shit, she got a broken arm. What are we
Just
gonna
kind
do?
of
She's
got her
gonna
arm
have
wrapped
to
over like that.
do like the one arm thing." Um, Henry and colleagues shoot each other dead at the same time, and then outside, there's quite a good little moment here where Gretchen's trying to open the door. She's like, "Oh shit, it's locked. We're still stuck." And then Alma just goes, "Nah, nah, this door's open now. Don't worry." And
Pushes
they
away out, and
meet.
then Gretchen sort of collapsed on the floor just as Ed, that
Yeah,
sexy French smoker,
sexy
turns
French
up.
smoker turns up. She's recovered from the car crash. and she basically drives the Free to safety. We get a moment in the
To
back seat
Paris.
where
On we go.
Gretchen, yeah, let's get a Cuckoo to Paris. The Cuckoo trio. And Alma's like asleep on Gretchen. Are her ears still twitching at this point? I can't remember. Do we get a close up of that? I feel like we
Oh,
might.
no, I'm not sure if they're twitching or she looks to see if they're twitching and they're not, like indicating they're away and they're safe.
Yeah. And there we have it. That's the end of Cuckoo. Um, very, very, very weird, but I like weird, and I was kind of vibing with it throughout. Um, name game is going to be pretty tough for this, right? Have you got
Well, I've got
anything
an
at all?
alternative game for you if you
Oh
like, Ben.
yeah, yeah,
It's
very
inspired
nice.
a little bit by our little bit of a guessing game, but
Okay.
it's inspired by some of our antics. We played a couple of band guessing games with each other when we were away
Oh
at
yeah, we
FrightFest.
did.
We were walking home down the streets of London. So I've got a couple of other
Very nice.
sort of aviation or other, similar kind of creature related films for you.
Okay,
I'm
okay.
going to give you some clues. I
Yeah.
won't play a yes or no guessing game, but play along at home. See how long it takes you to get one. And I'm going to do a couple of these ones here. See if you can guess what it is. So the first clue I will give you will be let's have a look here. Let's do this one first, shall we? Keep it horror genre first.
So we're
This
talking
film,
bird-focused horror.
not necessarily all birds or types of birds, like you'll be able to see the link.
Okay.
Not necessarily horror, because let's mix it
Oh
up.
God.
I think you're a film aficionado, Ben. I think you can mix it up a little bit. So the
Well,
first one
high pressure.
for 5 points. This one is a 2010 film.
You're giving me flashbacks to the quiz now. I'm feeling very Is
Yeah.
it 2010 uh up
It's not up,
flying
I'm afraid.
birds flying up? I was gonna say Birds of
For
Prey, but that's later, isn't it?
for
Okay, go
four
on.
points, I will tell you that this 2010 film is directed by Darren Aronofsky, which you can sing to Alejandro's song by Lady Gaga.
Darren Aronofsky,
Darren
2010.
Aronofsky,
Darren Aronofsky. That's right. Yeah, I was getting it wrong. 2010. It's not The Fountain because that was like I want to say 2009.
It's not The Fountain.
What came after The Fountain? Wait there, wait there, wait there. What Darren Aronofsky 2010? Moon?
It's not Moon.
Oh no, it's Duncan Jones did Moon, didn't he? Sorry.
You're gonna say it's Dunkachino. No. The third clue. I'll tell you what, the third clue for 3 points, I'm gonna give you some of the lower some of the later named members of the cast. So not necessarily the stars, but some of
Mm-hmm.
the bit
Okay.
parts.
Okay.
So for 3 points, you may have seen um Toby Hemingway as Tom/Suitor. You may have seen Benjamin Millipede as David Moreau/the Prince.
What on earth?
Or you may,
Millipede?
yeah, or you may have seen Sebastian Stan as Andrew/the Suitor.
Oh. What? Darren Aronofsky. Okay. 2009 was The Wrestler.
2010. No,
2010. So 2009 was The Wrestler. What did he direct after The Wrestler? Am I thinking of the right person? I feel like my brain's all over the place. Sebastian Stan as the suitor, did you say?
Yeah, Andrew/the Suitor.
Oh, wait. Is this like. Oh, fucking hell. I'm struggling now. I
Okay.
can say mother, but that's later as well, isn't it?
Um,
Jesus.
for 2 points, Ben,
Yeah.
I will give you the film's tagline.
Okay.
Perfection is not just about control, it's about letting go. Oh, it's
It's
also
Black.
about letting.
It's Black Swan, isn't it?
It is Black Swan, isn't it? Yeah. Black Swan,
Damn it!
another type of bird.
I don't
You
remember
would get the
Sebastian Stan being in that.
um yeah, he plays Andrew/Suitor.
Oh man,
If you hadn't got that one
disappointed in
for one
myself.
point, everybody at home, I would have said Vincent Cassell as Thomas Leroy, Mila Kunis as Lily or Natalie Portman as
Yeah,
Nina Sayers.
I would have potentially got it then. The Wrestler was 2008. That was where I was a bit. It was throwing me off. I was like, The Wrestler, and also I wasn't entirely sure what you were going for with this game. So now I feel like I understand a bit better.
Would you like another one?
Yes, yes, go on.
Right, let me get one up here then.
What are we calling
Uh,
this? The bird game,
um, Third game.
the cuckoo
Right.
game.
Cuckoo, like an imposter. Right. So this one is a 2011 film
Oh,
for 5 points.
2011 film for 5 points.
2011 bird related film.
Was there a film called The Vulture? I don't know.
It's not 2011's The Vulture. For
A Spider-Man villain origin film. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
from the Sony from the Spum
Yeah.
universe.
Adrian Toombs is sick of being old. Right,
Sick
carry
of
on.
Iron Man's spikes just messing everything up. So this 2011 film for 4 points was directed by Mark Waters.
Mark
Mark
Waters.
Waters, also the director of other films including Mean Girls, Freaky Friday, He's All That,
Oh,
and Ghosts of Girlfriends Past.
so he's like a sort of teen comedy director. Is this a teen comedy film, would you say?
No, I've never seen it. I wouldn't say it was a teen comedy film.
Birds of Prey. And that didn't come out in 2011, but still.
It
Oh,
is not Birds of Prey.
bloody hell.
For 3 points, here are some of the lesser, um, the lower build cast members. You have Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Van Gundy.
What the fuck?
You have Clark Gregg, aka what's his chops from Agents of Shield, the main guy, as Nat Jones. And you have
What the hell? What the hell?
let me think of another person. I'm trying to pick one more person from the lower areas of the cast list.
Bloody
I will
hell.
also tell you that Andrew Stewart Jones plays Animal Control Guy.
Animal Control Guy. What year is it? 2011.
2011.
What was that film where it was like something Peregrine's House of Fun? I don't know.
It's not.
Like Peregrine Falcon.
I know which one you mean.
Please tell me you've included Kez in this, for God's sake. Kez, the film about a falcon who befriends a.
About 40 years earlier. I'm afraid it's not.
Yes,
It's not
it's
that
not
one.
Kez.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
There is no tagline for this one, but for 2 points now, I will read you the synopsis, but I will redact the name that is.
Okay.
I will redact the names of anything that features
I mean, this is my wheelhouse. 2 points is
in
my
the things.
wheelhouse.
So,
Yeah.
Name Redacted is a successful businessman who's clueless when it comes to the really important things in life until he inherits 6 adorable animal named Redacted, each with its own unique personality. Soon,
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Mr. Popper's Penguins.
Yes. Come on. Is it Jim Carrey?
It is. For 1 point, I would have
I've
told
never
you
seen that. I've never seen
Jim
that.
Carrey as Tom Popper.
I've never seen it.
Neither have I.
Any
Maybe
more?
next week's the week. Should we do one more? Then we'll
Let's do one more. Yeah.
wrap it
Why
up.
not?
So, I think we will finish then with. Let's do this one. For 5 points, Ben. This film is from 1963.
The Birds.
It is The Birds. Congratulations. Do you want one more as you
Hell
did that one
yes.
quickly?
Yeah.
For a maximum of 20 points then. I will do this last one then, shall we?
Please do. I think I got one for you afterwards as well.
Okay. Right. This is a 2018 film for 5 points.
2018 film. Ba 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 ba. Is there a film called Ostriches?
It's not a film called Ostriches, I'm afraid. This for 4 points. This film was directed by
Damn.
Suzanne Bier.
Suzanne Bier.
Suzanne Bier.
Pigeon Man.
Not Pigeonman or Condiment, the Some
Oh
Mothers Do
yeah.
Have Them guy.
Oh yeah.
Um, for 3 points. Here are some people who are slightly lower on the cast list. Rosa Salazar is Lucy. Lil Ray Howery is Charlie. And Machine Gun Kelly is Felix.
What the frick? Machine Gun Kelly
Machine Gun Kelly.
in a film, in a 2018 film.
BD Wong is in it as Greg.
Oh, BD Wong.
BD Wong, yeah.
Wings of Pain. No.
Happy Anderson is in it as Riverman.
Oh, that hasn't helped.
Okay.
What's
Would you like your Ben's Wheelhouse, the 2-pointer?
Yes, please. That's my wheelhouse, isn't it?
This one does have a tagline, so that's what I'm going to give you for this one.
Okay.
For 2 points, your tagline is never lose sight of survival.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Never lose sight of survival. And has it got a bird? Is it a name of a bird in the title?
Can't possibly tell you without giving it away.
Never lose sight of survival.
Never lose sight of survival, Ben. No matter if I give you one piece of advice today, it's going to be that.
Eagle Eye.
It's not Eagle Eye. That would have been a good one though.
Good guess, isn't it? Good guess.
The Shia LaBeouf. Is that Eagle Eye?
Yeah,
there
I
is.
think it is Shia LaBeouf, isn't it? Right, any
Okay.
more?
So for 1 point, then this is your top build cast. You could have Trevant Rhodes as Tom, Sarah Paulson as Jessica, John Malkovich as Douglas, or Sandra Bullock as Mallory Hayes.
What the hell?
That's your
Is it
top
like some
build
sort of
cast.
American Horror Story thing?
Tell you what, Ben, for 0 points, you've done a horror hangout episode on it.
Behave yourself. You serious?
For real.
Sarah Paulson? I can only think of that film that she's in called Run, which and it isn't that.
I did the top four.
2008.
I did the top four cast in reverse order. So Sandra Bullock is your main.
It's bloody Bird Box, isn't it?
It's the Bird Box.
There is no way Machine Gun Kelly is in that.
He is, Ben, and I'll tell you, Machine Gun Kelly.
It.
Machine Gun Kelly plays. What did I
Can't
say? His
believe
name
it.
was
I can't believe it.
Felix. He was
That
Felix
threw me off big
in
time
that.
because I was. Oh bloody hell! We just want you to see. Is that it? Is that Bird Box? Yeah. All right. Okay. Let's do it for you.
I'll go on
You
then.
ready? Just one for you.
Just one.
5 points. 5 points. Is that right? 5 points.
Yeah, 5 points for the
5
director.
points. This movie was
the year,
released
sorry.
in 2005.
2005, bird-related horror film.
Don't look at your list, Andy.
No, I'm looking down, thinking in my mind.
I'm not looking down at my list.
I'm looking downwards into my mind palace to think.
Yeah.
Not using my eyes when I'm thinking. So a 2005, not necessarily horror, bird-related film.
Yes.
Is it The Penguins of Madagascar?
That's a good guess, but no. 4 points. What would that be?
That would be the director.
I don't know if this is going to help, but I'll give you 2 pieces of information for that.
Okay.
One thing I'm going to say is directed by Lance Mungia.
Yeah.
And I'm also going to say this is a guess, but I'm pretty sure it's true. Direct to DVD.
A direct to DVD Lance Mungia film from 2005. I'm going to say Birdemic.
Oh God!
Can you imagine if that had been right?
Film. It's not true though. It's not correct. Sorry. What's 3 points? Cast.
Some of the lower ranked
Some of
cast
the lower
members.
ranked cast. I'm just going to give you all of the cast apart from the lead.
Okay.
Because listen to this cast. Are you ready?
I'm not gonna know any of these fuckers.
David Boreanaz,
Oh,
Tara Reid
sorry, David Boreanaz as what? What's his character's name?
as Lucifer,
Okay. It's
Tara
simple.
Reid as Lola, Dennis Hopper as El Nino, and Danny Trejo as Padre Harold.
Padre Harold. Lucifer. Padre Harold. El Nino, despite being the oldest
This
cast member.
this ain't easy, and even looking at the cast, I was like, "What? Really?"
I mean, it sounds like it's an absolutely stacked cast, but I'm afraid I don't know any of these. I don't know this one.
What's 4 points? What are we doing?
The tagline or synopsis if there's not a tagline.
The tagline or synopsis? I don't know if there is a tagline. I didn't have a quick look. Um, I can give you the lead for 4 points.
Okay.
The lead of this film is played by Edward Furlong. That's right, Edward Furlong of Terminator 2
Oh man.
and and being arrested fame.
Oh, the thing is, I could tell you another Edward Furlong film, but
Edward
it doesn't
Furlong
feature birds.
direct to DVD.
Um, the only other Edward Furlong film I know is Spiderquake. Also has
Jesus.
Neelix in it from Star Trek Voyager.
It's not that.
Um, as the police chief. No, but I don't know it, I don't think.
What's is this 1 point now?
Yeah, 1 point.
I'm gonna give you a okay, I'm just gonna say this. It can't rain all the time.
It can't rain all the time.
Is that helpful or not?
Can't be
That's a quote from something. This is a direct to DVD sequel of a film where that is like a quote. It can't rain all the time. I can help you even more.
Hard rain.
The latest installment of this franchise was released probably about a week ago.
So it's a franchise, and a new one came out like last week.
Remake, reboot.
God, I got no idea.
Reviews haven't been good so far.
Oh, The Crow. So is it The
Crow.
Crow 3?
I think it might be 4. Oh, I think it's 3. It's The Crow, Wicked Prayer.
Oh,
The
The Crow Wicked
2005.
Prayer, of course.
I'm sorry if I went in too hard on that, but I was just thinking I want to do a Crow sequel, but that's the Edward Furlong one is really the only other one I'm really aware of.
Well, that was still very fun to play, and I have dreams at home that someone will have got that.
Yeah, I like to think as soon as you mentioned David Boreanaz as Lucifer, someone would have got it. Okay, that was fun. The bird game.
Should we rate the movie?
I feel like when the name game isn't as easy as possible, we should maybe take that route because that is fun, isn't it?
Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun game.
It feels like I'm back in the quiz era. Okay, so rate the movie A to F. Pluses and minuses are allowed. Rate good or rate bad. I'm just gonna go steamrolling in there and go for a classic horror hangout B plus because I really like this. I really like the oddball vibe of it. It's something I was definitely into. Tilman Singer. I think I'll go and check out his other film Luz to just see how I feel about that. I feel like it could have been in the A territory if it did lean into the ridiculous B movie nature of it a little bit more. I feel like the reveal of what this creature is, and you know, when your creature, when you need two different characters to essentially deliver big chunks of exposition for it to make sense in any way. That doesn't always have to make sense, but I think when you have to do that rather than show, if you could show something happening, then I feel like I could have been more into it. But yeah, Dan Stevens is great. Hunter Schafer is great. I just feel like it's just one of those films that is difficult to sort of put in a box in terms of like this is a horror film, this is a thriller, this is a weird science fiction thing. I think it was good, but maybe just a couple of steps off being great.
Yeah.
How you feeling about it?
I feel similar to you, but I'm not going to go quite as high. I think I'm going to go B minus, and I'm going to say that with kind of keeping in mind that maybe it's because I'm a little bit tired and I have seen a lot of films recently, so maybe I'm a little bit, and also ones that I think were really spectacular in a lot of cases as well. So it may have suffered based on recent comparisons, but I liked a lot of things about it. I like the setup. I like the sort of almost Giallo-esque dreamlike quality in the way that they kept jumped around, and just like really dropped us into scenes. I did enjoy those things. But for the similar reasons to you, I kind of wish it had leaned into the silliness a little bit more and have just gone over the top. I wouldn't have cared if they had been mutants or space aliens or something that was just that little bit weirder. Or just the otherwise just a few loose ends. Like, what happened to the mom and dad in the end? They just gone.
Yeah, it was a bit like that. There were a few loose ends, weren't they?
Yeah. And also I think it was really sold to us as being like a very, very tense, um, very dramatic thing. I maybe would have had that pursuit from the creature a little bit more relentless going on. So
Yeah.
she wasn't really given any let up against that creature. Maybe just to build that tension a little bit more for me. But still,
Mm.
I think there's a lot of depth to it. There's definitely some metaphors I didn't pick out in the first run through. I would like to watch it again still, and maybe that B minus, like a little cuckoo's egg in a nest,
Oh,
may flourish to a B or even a B plus in the future. But right now, a little Parker's in the nest for the moment and
yeah.
a B minus, possibly with room to grow.
Lovely stuff. Okay, so that's Cuckoo. Hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed the Fright Fest Awards as well. If we nominated a film for a Fright Fest Award and you agree or disagree, please let us know on any of our social platforms. So, thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, become a patron over at patreon.com/horror hangout. Thanks to our patrons over there. Thanks to Taj Easton for our theme music. Thanks to Acast for hosting the show. Please consider giving us a rating or review. And also give us a rating or review or some feedback on our massive Fright Fest episode, because it was a labor of love. And we'd love to know what people think worked well, what didn't work so well, what you want to see more or less of. Please do that, because it was fun doing it. We're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Just search Horror Hangout Podcast. Next week, we're doing the Beetlejuice sequel, Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
And also, we didn't mention, as it's a new month, it's September. We've announced the lineup for September. After Beetlejuice, we're covering 2016 Blair Witch and Wishmaster. So 2 films that I think have been on the agenda for a while. Finally getting around to them.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I may or may not. I've told you this already, Ben, but for everyone else, I may or may not be here next week, depending on my record. So I'm working abroad, which might make it tricky to go and see Beetlejuice. But if not, I will leave you in Ben's capable hands along with a guest.
We got you covered, mate. We got you covered. Don't you worry about it. But yeah, looking forward to that. I'll be checking Beetlejuice out this week. And yeah, we'll see you next time to chat about that. The juice getting loose. That's
Looking,
that's a theme. That's one of the
that's
famous
Maynard's wine
lines.
gums, isn't it?
The juice getting bloody loose, mate. Well, I don't know about you,
About
mate,
this
but
hoose.
I'm off to watch The Crow. I forgot what it's called already. Wicked Prayer. I'm off to watch The Crow, Wicked Prayer. I hope I haven't had to see the other sequels to understand what's going on in this, but I can't wait to see Edward Furlong in The Crow makeup. Don't know about you.
In action. And all I can say to you, if you are off to watch The Crow for Wicked Prayer, can't rain all the time.
It can't rain all the time. The famous quote from The Crow that Andy definitely knows.
Yeah, good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.